You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the June 21st meeting of the Michigan City Common Council. You can find information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. Today is June 21st, our regular Common Council meeting. If you can turn your phones off or put them on vibrate and silent and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll get this meeting started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Nyla on the roll call.
Mr. Dabney.
Present.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Present.
Mr. Mack.
Present.
Przebalinski.
Present.
Mr. Paul Przebalinski.
Present.
Mr. Simmons.
Present.
Ms. Jiggis. Present. And Ms. Tillman.
Present.
We have 9 present, no one absent. Thank you.
And before we get started, there is an amendment to the agenda that we will need to take a vote on. There was a resolution that was submitted on time, and we did not get it on the agenda appropriately. So I'm calling for a motion to amend the agenda to add resolution, which will be read in its entirety during that time.
Motion to amend.
Got a motion from Councilman Gene Simmons and a second from Don Przebalinski. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
Ms. Deitch. Aye. Mr. Don Przebalinski.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Ms. Jiggis. Aye. Mr. Paul Przebalinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
And Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you. And I'll ask that the amended agenda be placed on the website in the future after we get caught up with our minutes and all that. Thank you. I'll call for approval of the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by Paul Przebalinski, second by Don Przebalinski. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
I don't think I'm organized tonight.
It's all right.
Okay, Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
Mr. Don Przebalinski.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Ms. Jiggis. Aye. Mr. Paul Przebalinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And Mr. Mack.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you. Maybe we should, like you said, Councilman Fitzpatrick, we have. All right, reports of standing committees. Any reports of standing committees? Yes. Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick?
Oh.
No? Any standing committees? All right, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. The City of Michigan City held a Finance Committee meeting on today. And there was approval of the minutes from June 7, 2022, passed with 3 yeas, 0 nays. Our opening issues was the review of claims in Fund Number 2031, Boyd Development, $0. Review claims in Fund Number 2042, Riverboat, $33,663.93. Account payable Clark Quinn Moses Scott, $19,518.20. And Faro Technologies, Inc., $14,145.73, totaling that $33,663.93. Also, there was the Riverboat EFT in the amount of $4,856,321. And those were for EFT electronic funds that has already been approved by the council for the cemetery operating in the amount of $280,000, the general fund operating $3,101, $3,101,982. MVH operating, $919,339, and park operating for $500,000, totaling $4,856,321.
Thank you, Councilwoman Tillman. For the claims docket for June 21st, 2022, we have Fund 2042 Riverboat claims for $33,663.93. And then we have the EFT for $4,856,321, as said by our Finance Chair, Councilwoman Tracy Tillman, for total claims of $4,889,984.93. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilwoman Delia Jigas and support by Councilman Bryant Dabney. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Ms. Jigas. Aye. Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
And Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
There's 9 in favor and no one opposed.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nyla. Any reports of special or select committees? Reports of? All right, moving along. Tonight we have with us Jessica Ward, our airport director, who will be giving us an update on our runway extension project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jessica Ward. I'm the airport manager at Michigan City Airport, and this is Paul. He is our he's our engineering consultant with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert. So we just wanted to come and give an update on our runway extension project. We've been working on it for 20 years in Michigan City. So we've made some major improvement in the progress, and I just wanted to let you guys know kind of where we are now, where we were, and what the future is quickly. So right now, currently, we actually have all of our planning stages completed and approved by the FAA. We have our environmental approved, we have our runway extension justification approved, and we also have our ALP approved for the project. So those are the documents that the FAA needs in order to fund the project. So we have all of that complete and all of it's approved. So now we're just waiting on funding for the project. We actually did purchase the property that we needed that was south of the airport from Ton and Blank. We did that last year. So we acquired that land. So we have all the property that we need for the extension. And our ALP does show now the plans for the extension to the south. And so that's all set and ready. So we're just really waiting on funding right now. It's kind of a waiting game. We get all 90% of our funding from the FAA for all of our airport improvement projects. And then 5% comes from the state. So our local match is usually about 5% for all of our projects. It kind of varies. Sometimes it's 2.5% or sometimes it's 7.5%, but 5% pretty much is what it is for our project. We apply for grants every single year for it. And we also have this new funding too. It's called the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law funding, which is new. It's a 5-year new money that we have, and it's about $159,000 a year for 5 years that we have for GA airports, like our Michigan City Airport. So we're going to actually put some of that money into the project as well. But you all should have a handout, right? Yes. Okay. So this handout right here kind of shows what we submitted for what we would like for our funding for the CIP to look like for the next 5 years. And then the bottom little portion is actually what they have said that they're going to give us. So they kind of are different, but the one on the bottom is kind of what they're saying. This is what we're going with right now. This is what you should expect. And so in there, it shows that the project isn't actually going to start until 2025. We're going to have a couple of NPE rollover years. So the reason is, I know we were supposed to start this project in 2022, 2023 for a while, but what happened is it's like inflation. I know that's taken, a toll on everything, but but in GA, we have to like share our money with the big commercial service airports in the state of Indiana. So what happened is they get most of the funding and then we get whatever's left over. And so this year, just with the cost of all the projects growing, they weren't able to fund as much. So it's pushing projects back. And so ours is one of them that's pushed back, but we are in line. We only have one other one that I know, a runway extension project that's before ours that was literally waiting before ours even, which we've been waiting forever, it seems like. So they're going to be next and then we're in line. So this is kind of where they have us in that last. So it'll show, you can see like where our local matching, it says matching local funds. This is kind of what to expect for 2022 through 2027 for what our local match is going to be. But you'll be happy to know that changes annually. Isn't that great? So that's what we can expect right now for the next 5 years. But next year, it'll be different for what we expect for the next 5 years. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. If the FAA throws more money into other projects or they get different pots of money, that gives more money to us. And it just, there's lots of different pots of money that we are going to try and use for this project. So the council years ago, I don't even remember what year, they gave us about $444,000 to put into the extension project. And that money was recyclable. So we just keep recycling it back into the project over and over every year. And so we have that for our local matches. And we have almost all of that back besides what we've actually paid out for local matches in the past couple of years. So we are made whole with that. We have everything back from that for all of our design work that we've done on this and planning work. So we're just literally waiting on funding. And as soon as we get it, we're going to start the project. So we're really excited. It's the city's needed it for a really long time. Yeah, we had to justify 500 operations, touching, takeoffs and landings, and we over justified double what we needed to justify for the project. And that was like aircraft that can't land at our airport because our runway is only 4,100 feet. And if it was 5,000 feet, these are the amount of aircraft that would come. So it's like we were literally searching for aircraft. Like, you can't land in Michigan City now, but if our runway was longer, would you? And they would have to literally submit letters saying we will land this many times in a year if the runway was longer. And so we double justified what we needed to. It's a project, it's going to be great, for the economy here in Michigan City, and we're really excited about it. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. I brought him along because if it's any questions, he's more the engineer type to answer.
Yes. And do we have this electronically, the drawing, or can you?
I can give it to you electronically.
Okay. If you could send that would be great.
Yep.
Are there any questions from the council? Yes, Councilman Paul Privilege.
So has this been in the planning stages, but has it gone to IDOT to get permission to go underneath?
Yes. So we have to, INDOT actually, they're part of who funds our projects as well. So 90% of our project is funded through the FAA and 5% is funded through the state. And so the state actually, this bottom kind of like funding schedule, it's actually INDOT. It says INDOT's funding schedule because they're the one, they work really closely with the FAA and making sure that, INDOT has to approve all of our projects before we can do any capital projects at our airport.
Okay.
And the LaPorte district has reviewed through what we call stage 1 and stage 2 plans, which is basically 60% design on the road. And the $444,000 that was granted by the council earlier funded all that has since been reimbursed. So the final design is not, it will be what they call the letting documents, which is basically when you advertise it for bids. We don't have that quite wrapped up yet because we don't know exactly when we'll get the money for bids. But yes, the LaPorte district has been reviewing, and then the central office for NDOT has reviewed the geotech. There was quite concern to make sure that when we lower the road that it doesn't fill up with water. So it's all positive drainage. There'll be no pumping. It drains via gravity, and we've gotten that pretty much signed off there from NDOT as well. So we've made that progress. Now the runway portion hasn't been designed yet, but the roadway portion is about a little over 60% design at this stage.
So is that whole, is that whole runway, the road is gonna be lowered? Is that what the black portion is on the map?
Correct. The bottom portion of the drawing is a profile view. If you were looking at it from the end of the runway, so that bottom black line is the profile that the road will dip, and you notice that it already dips to go under 212, and so it'll dip a little bit more. This is exaggerated. The vertical scale is exaggerated, so you won't see those curves as extreme as it is on the paper. But in order to see it on paper, we have to exaggerate it so you can see it.
Is that runway going to be, when it's extended to that, what is it? What'd you say, 4160?
Yeah, right now it's 4,100 feet. We're gonna go out to like 5,200 it'll be 5,001 usable feet.
So can heavy military type planes make a landing there? Like a C-130? Is it going to be built to take that? Is that part of the criteria?
Yeah, so a C-130 has an operational, the normal operating weight is around 155,000 pounds, but they can operate down as low as 85,000 pounds. This bridge is designed for 135,000 pounds. So if it were fully loaded, we may have to look at that a little bit. Lengthwise, there's no problem at all. So a C-130 could operate here. Larger than that, you would not have the length available to do that.
Okay.
Unless we extend it further.
I was gonna
That'll
ask
be the
that question.
future.
Okay, well, I have an additional question then. I know that, how much with that size runway, that'll be able to take World War II, like B-17s and stuff like that, correct? And my reason for that question is that maybe we could get Connors Air to come here instead of Valparaiso. Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah, the B-17 could operate here, no problem. It'll handle any business jet up through technically a 737 could land on 5,000 feet. They do it at Chicago Midway all the time.
Mhm.
You probably won't see that here, but that's about the biggest plane you could possibly get into here if you wanted to. Anything smaller than that, no problem.
Okay. Any additional questions? Because that was going to be my question as far as commercial air, and if we could compete with some of the others. I didn't know from a not a FedEx or anything like that to name people, but I'm just wondering how big you could accommodate. So thank you. This was great. And if you can send that to
Yes.
the clerk, to Ms. Nyla, that would be great.
I will do that.
Thank you
you.
for coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any reports from from the mayor or any additional officers or departments? All right. Ms. Nyla, any petitions?
There are no petitions this evening.
All right. Communications.
Correspondence was received in the clerk's office on June 2nd from South Bank Legal regarding objection, June 2nd, sanitation special meeting. Correspondence was received in the clerk's office on June 10th from Attorney Matthew Deputy regarding an appeal filed by the office regarding the Lake Shore Drive sewer project. A tort claim was received in the clerk's office on June 10th regarding an incident that took place on May 5th, 2022.
Awesome. Thank you. If you don't mind, Ms. Nyla, can we start with the resolution that we added to the amended agenda? And you read it by title. I'll let Ms. Gigas read it in its entirety.
Okay. A resolution by title only, a special resolution recognizing the 53rd anniversary of the Stonewall riots and the June celebration of Pride Month. And this is introduced by Ms. Gigas.
Thank you. So I will read this resolution in its entirety. Whereas Pride Month celebrates and honors the LGBTQ plus community who call Indiana home and have made significant contributions to our city and state in every aspect, including in the fields of education, law, health, business, science, research, economic development, architecture, fashion, sports, government, music, film, politics, technology, literature, and civil rights. And whereas the LGBTQ plus community has come a great distance towards equality, towards the efforts of grassroots organizers and nonprofit organizations who have created a groundswell of support and a culture of acceptance. Whereas Pride is a celebration of visibility, despite the continued discrimination and dehumanization that many LGBTQ plus people face. And whereas Indiana communities have come under attack as our state house has decided to vilify trans children who just want to play sports. And whereas we know that attacks on the trans community cost much more than just getting to play on a high school team. According to a study from the American Academy of Pediatrics, more than half of transgender male teens surveyed reported attempting suicide in their lifetime, while almost 30% of transgender female teens said they'd attempted suicide. Among non-binary youth, 41.8% of respondents stated that they had attempted suicide at some point in their lives. And whereas many LGBTQ plus youth, especially transgender and gender non-conforming individuals, experience family rejection, bullying and harassment, or feel unsafe for simply being who they are, all of which can be added risk factors for suicide. And whereas our city prides itself in our diversity and the strength that it brings, we stand today in solidarity with our LGBTQ plus community and all those who believe in equality to say that Michigan City truly does welcome all. And whereas we will continue to urge state legislators to craft legislation that supports our children, like fully funding public schools, funding adequate mental health support for our children and young adults, and leveling the playing field by fully funding girls' sports. Now, therefore, we resolve to urge all government entities, community leaders, businesses, schools, and individuals to respect and honor our diverse community and to build a culture of inclusivity and equity all year long. This resolution shall be in full force and effect after passage by the Michigan City Common Council and approval by the mayor.
Thank you. And before we go to public comment, are there any council members? I know I said I would co-sponsor. Are there any council members that would like to co-sponsor so that we can do that first before we take Mr. Dabney, Mr. Don Problinski, anyone else, and Mr. Gene Simmons? All right. Thank you. All right. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Just come to the microphone and state your name and your address.
Good evening, Council. My name is Wendy Willis, and my address is 201 School Street, Michigan City. Thank you for allowing us to speak this evening. I am a resident of Eastport, and myself and Miss Pat Williams, we have been talking to some of our neighbors about some of the issues that we've seen have been going on in our neighborhood.
Okay, so the way that the council meeting works. So we're speaking specifically about the resolution. So, yes,
I'm so sorry. We thought you read the public.
No, that's okay.
Oh, we're so sorry.
So what we do is, because every single government entity does it differently.
Oh, okay.
So the way it works, for each resolution, we take public comment.
Oh,
and
I
then,
see.
And then at the end, we do open public comment.
Okay, I apologize.
Yes. No, that's no problem.
Okay.
So you'll be first.
Okay.
And when we get there.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
All right, no problem. Yes, yes. Name and address.
Deb Chubb, 3630 Birchwood Trail, Michigan City. I just want to thank the council for taking up this resolution and passing it. I feel very fortunate to live in this very diverse and rich culture here in Michigan City, and really appreciate the inclusive nature that we put out there for everyone. And I want to really celebrate the PFLAG group, who has put on another very successful Pride event that has brought thousands of people to Michigan City and really puts us at the top of the list of great cities here in Indiana.
Thank you.
Hello, Sue Harrison, 323 Garrettson Ave. I am the president of PFLAG and one of the Pride Committee board members. I just want to say we truly appreciate the support that we received from the city. This became that's the best one we've had so far in the 3 years we've done this. And we had over 4,300 people attend Pride on Saturday, and it was phenomenal to see the families. It was diverse. People came from all over. So I appreciate your support, and the rest of this committee does as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the public? And thank the committee for being here. I see a bunch of you here. All right, comments from the council. Any comments from the council? Any comments from the council? Yes.
I have a couple questions for the Councilwoman Zega. Where did you get your information on all the repetitiveness of the suicide? And I know that you stated in here about the American Pediatrics Academy, but is there anything else that there's no other reason why these people, this percentage is this high in this outlaying factors?
Well, I did not do the research or any of that. So this was actually based off of a resolution that was passed in Indianapolis. So I'm sure we can reach out and get the original sources for you.
Yeah, and I will say, just to interject, I know that they noted the American Pediatric, but I know the Medical Association and the mental health organizations also provide that information as well, just to add a little bit to it.
Okay, and I have an additional question. The final whereas is that we talk about our state legislators. Are we not chastising them, but are the way this is worded, did they vote against legislation that was proposed?
Go ahead. Well, I will say this. Historically, yes. We've had some, I know I participated in a couple of things that happened over the last 8 years as far as protesting and some bills that were brought forward. I know PFLAG can add some color to that. And since you're so dressed in all those pretty colors, you might as well. But they can talk about the state legislature if you have a question.
I'm particularly concerned about taking up issue with people who represent us in LaPorte County. Did they vote against it?
You have anything to add to that, Ms. Esther?
I don't have anything to add in regard to LaPorte County. Sorry, my name is Esther Stiles. I'm the vice president of our local PFLAG chapter here in Michigan City, LaPorte County. I'm actually a LaPorte City resident, 713.5 Indiana Avenue. What I can speak to some of your questions, Mr. Prespolinski, is that there are many studies that show higher rates of suicide ideation and attempts among the LGBTQ community, specifically because of issues of lack of belonging, being kicked out of their families, being kicked out of their homes. We have a higher rate of homelessness among LGBTQ youth. So that speaks to some of the statistics for the suicide numbers that were presented in the resolution. Yes, recently, last month, the state legislators voted against a veto that Governor Holcomb had put forth in regard to banning transgender females from participating in sports. So that speaks to the other piece that she wrote in there.
Well, specifically, I asked about our representatives for LaPorte County, because I certainly don't want to chastise them if they voted for it. And that's why I'm bringing that point up, because you can interpret this, that saying that in a negative context that they voted against it. And I think that you don't want to cut your nose to spite your face if they are supporting it. And I don't want to chastise them. And the way I interpret this language in the last whereas, we are. And I'm just, that's a simple
Thank you.
question to get answered. And this question came to my mind as I'm sitting here listening to this. And I think that we need to respect our legislators if they are in support. That's what I'm trying to project here.
Thank you. Thank you. Any additional comments from the council? I think we're good. Any additional comments from the council?
Yeah, Madam President.
Yes.
This is a fantastic resolution, and of course, I'm going to support it. But I would like to just say that whether the LGBTQ portion of society, or white people, African American, Black people, Hispanic people, we're all human beings. And that's the way I look at things. We're all human beings, and we should treat ourselves and respect each other as human beings, depending on what your sexuality is or your feelings are, because we should treat people simply, just like it says here, simply being who they are. And that's what, to me, life is all about, and what human beings should be to each other. And that every human being deserves the same respect as the other human being. So that's why I'm in total support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. And I won't switch chairs with you, but I would like to say congratulations. The event was wonderful. It was so many families there with their children, and the vendors that were out there were fantastic. And I will say that it was nice to see the mental health club from the high school have a booth there, and they were excited to do it. So I will say that, hopefully next year, and they've already reached out to help support and maybe do something bigger, even with Juneteenth, which is, so I appreciate some of you all reaching out in reference to that as well. So I just want to congratulate you, because it was well done. And you had the most diverse population I've seen at any event in Michigan City. So congratulations. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
So we have a motion on the table from Councilman Don Pripolinski.
Support.
And a second from Councilman Bryant Dabney. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jigus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Mack,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
and Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
All right.
Chair,
Yes.
if I may, I want to make a comment about this last whereas. I hope in the future that if we're going to talk about any of our federal or state legislators, that if the sponsor makes a point to have the facts and the data in front of us. Now, I voted for this, and I can support the whole issue, but I sure hope that I didn't offend anybody that is one of our state reps. And that's why I brought that issue up. I don't know if there was an intent to do that, but I hope there wasn't. But I do like funding the public schools and adequate health care. I think that's a big issue, not only with the transgender group or any of the LTBG groups, but also with a lot of the problems going on with violence in our society. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we're out of order. Did you have something to say, Mr. Dabney?
I really wanted to read the last whereas so the public can hear it again, if that's possible.
We're already out of order, so I don't mind. We're out of order, so.
This is the last whereas statement of the resolution. Whereas we will continue to urge state legislators to craft legislation that supports our children, like fully funding public schools, funding adequate mental health support for our children and young adults, and leveling the playing field by fully funding girls' sports.
Thank you. And it has passed. All right. So moving on to resolution, our second resolution by title only.
A resolution by title only, adding to the initial plan for the use of portion of the city's allotment of local physical recovery funds through the American Rescue Plan Act to pay for the grade crossing improvements as various crossings intersections in Michigan City, specifically in the Northern Indiana Commuter Transportation District, to establish quiet zones. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch, Mr. Dabney, and Mr. Gene Simmons.
I don't remember why this was tabled. Are there any conversation? Any comments by the sponsors? Any comments by the sponsors? All right. Comments from the public. Comments from the public. Comments from the public. Comments from the council. Yes, Councilman Don.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I just want to make sure I'm going to support this. I supported the ordinance, but I just want to make sure that the city administration and the council remembers, and when it comes time for financing, that we look at all the other city train crossings, the CSX going through the middle of town where people live 100 feet away from a train crossing and they have to listen to the whistles. I mean, if we're going to do it for one section of town, we need to do it for the whole city and be fair across the board. Thank you.
And I will add that I know it was in writing that at least I received an email in writing from someone from the administration. I will have to go back, but stating that that they will do that as a second. The study that we talked about in the future, they didn't add it in this, but that they will do it. And I do have it in writing.
City administration.
Yes, yes, I do have that. So I just want to make sure that I note that. Any additional comments from the council? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Support.
We have a motion by Councilman Don Privilinski, a second by Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Ms. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski?
Definitely aye, with the concept to fund a further study, as Councilman Don Prisbalinski alluded to. Thank you.
Ms. Tillman?
Aye.
Mr. Dabney?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Mack?
Aye.
Ms. Deitch?
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski?
Aye.
And Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Next, last resolution, third resolution by title only.
A resolution by title only, approving submission of the application for grants for the city of Michigan City from the Federal Aviation Administration and bipartisan infrastructure law grants for 2022 to 2026 cycles, supporting the local match for said grants. And this is introduced by Mr. Simmons.
Any comments from the sponsor?
Yes, this is that local match grant that Jessica referenced, that 5% of a project on the expansion of the
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you have something? Did you want to be added or something? No, I was talking to, I thought Councilwoman Tracy. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council? Yes, Councilwoman Tillman.
Thank you, Madam President. In regards to that presentation that was provided to us, my question is, so that 5%, the matching of funds from the state, then are we looking at prior estimates of the 400,000? Is 400,000 the amount that you quoted?
Okay, the 444,000.
Right, you might want to come to the mic. I know you stated that that was a rolling amount.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just wanted some clarification on that. Nope, that's fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any additional questions from the council? Yes.
I'd like to make a
Council-
motion to adopt.
Yes, a motion to adopt
Second.
by Councilman Paul Privilinski, a second by Councilwoman Tillman. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Definitely aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
Ms. Deitch.
Yeah, aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
and Ms. Jigus.
Aye.
We have 9 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Nyla, first ordinance on first reading by title only.
An ordinance on first reading by title only, amending ordinance number 4598, commonly known as the 2022 salary ordinance to increase the annual salary for the deputy fire chief position. And this is introduced by Mr. Dabney.
Any comments from the sponsor?
I would like to bring the chief of the fire department, Mr. Galt, up to
Thank you.
just reference this.
Yes,
And if you
so,
have any comments after him.
all right, thank you.
Good evening, President, council members. Doug Legault, Michigan City Fire Chief. This is an issue that I brought up in February with Councilwoman Tracy Tillman with the Finance Committee, and I've been pushing for it ever since. I would appreciate your consideration in this. If you want me to go through the details, I can again, or I can answer any questions.
Thank you. You know what, after we get done with public comment, we'll hold it open for the council when they make the comments if they have any questions. Thank you. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Comments from the council? Yes, Councilman Fitzpatrick.
One, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. You got that, Ms. Nyla? Yes.
And two, I just wanted to say that I'm fully in support of this. That was one of the reasons why when this position was bundled up in that other ordinance with all of those other proposed salary increases, I amended this one out so we could be able to do this at this point right now. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Don Privilinski.
Yeah, and I have the same comment as far as when this came up before in the previous ordinance. And it was tied into all the other jobs and positions and salary raises. And I know that, that we're sitting here taking this out of the ordinance and doing this and doing that and kind of getting some funny looks from the audience, but that was the purpose of it. I always thought that this should be adequately funded, but it shouldn't have been added in with a whole nother bundle of other things. So yeah, I stand behind this totally.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Yes, Councilwoman Tracy Tillman.
Madam President, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. And also Chief Legault, I am glad that this has finally come forth. And Councilman Dabney, thank you for putting this ordinance together.
Any additional comments?
Aye as well. I would
Yes.
like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Councilman Gene Simmons, I'm added as well. You might as well throw me on there too.
I have one question.
Yes. Yes, Councilman Paul Privilinski.
So I guess this is for Councilman Dabney, is the deputy fire chief position. Is that gonna be, you wanna increase that, so is that gonna increase the other deputies also?
Chief, Go ahead, Chief.
Doug Legault, Michigan City Fire Chief. There's 2 deputy chiefs, so it would be 2 positions, correct?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, Chief. While you're there, can you go into
Yes,
the
sir.
detail of how the salaries of subordinates were making more than?
Correct. In roughly October, I believe our department heads the salary was set. The negotiations went on until the late December, I believe, the end of December for the union contract. And with the timing of it all, there was 5 positions that were above the deputy chief's position. These 5 positions are supervised by the deputy chief. So nowhere could I find on any department that the deputy chief wasn't the second highest paid position in a department. So along with the performance of the deputy chiefs, I believe they should be higher than the people that they are supervising. I've given amounts to Councilman Dabney on where I believe it should be. So it's right in the middle of the people that they supervise and then my position. So it's right in the middle. The new salary would be. The old salary was lower. Does that answer all questions? Or
For now.
is that what you're looking for?
Yep.
First reading.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional comments on first reading? With that being said, this will be held over for our next meeting. Ms. Nyla, our second ordinance on first reading.
An ordinance on first reading by title only, amending section 102-46 in the Michigan City Municipal Code known as the Arborist License to amend the license application and related procedures. And this is introduced by Mr. Simmons, Mr. Don Prespolinski, and Ms. Deitch.
Any comments from the sponsors? Yes, Councilman Gene Simmons.
This is, in talking to the city attorney, we just attempted to put more safeguards into this ordinance after having issues with tree trimming companies on Beverly and on Odell Street. We did not have enough safeguards in to address these 2 companies. And that's what she's attempting to do with this ordinance.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Don Prespolinski.
Yeah, basically the same explanation. It's just to tighten up the regulations on I guess you could call it a industry in Michigan City that some things were not as good as they should be, especially when you have companies that reside in neighborhoods, right in the middle of neighborhoods, parking trucks in the middle of neighborhoods, doing operations and cutting wood in the middle of neighborhoods, employees parking their cars right in the middle of yards in neighborhoods, and then people going off to work, and the whole gamut that goes with that. And plus, there's more stringent liability insurance involved here, and licensing involved, and labeling of vehicles for the businesses. And just, I think overall, it'll make it a much more professional industry here in Michigan City. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Simmons.
And I'd just like to add, and that would keep them out of residential neighborhoods.
That are zoned residential.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments from the public? Comments from the public? All right. Any comments from the council? Comments from the council? With that being said, this will be held over for second reading at our next meeting. Ms. Nyla, first ordinance on second reading, and this was advertised in the Herald Dispatch on June 8th, 2022. Tonight, it will be a formal public hearing this evening. Are there any comments from the sponsors?
I have to read it.
Comments from the sponsors? Oh, you need to read it by title only. Thank you.
An ordinance on second reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the ARP Coronavirus Local Physical Recovery Fund for the highway rail grade crossing improvements to establish quiet zones on the South Shore Line owned and operated by the Northern Indiana Commuter Transportation District. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch, Mr. Dabney, Mr. Simmons, Ms. Tillman, and Mr. Don Prespolinski.
And could you double check the commuter spelling? I'm sorry. I think it might be spelled incorrectly. But are there any comments from the council, the sponsors? Any comments from the sponsors? This is based on the resolution from earlier. Any comments from the public? Any comments from? Yes, Mr. Ernie. Name and address.
Yes, Bernie Callahan, 302 Gladys Street, Michigan City. This goes back to the resolution that you read on commuter transportation. Is this covering the Risky Ave crossing where the South Shore transfers that? Because they constantly blow them horns going back and forth, transferring cars into that factory there.
I am not certain of that.
I'm not sure if that's South Shore track, but it's a South Shore train that's doing it.
That's South Shore Freight.
That's the freight.
Referencing JF.
Commuter.
They hold up traffic quite a bit there.
They
too.
do.
So I was just curious to know if that was included. So they're not blowing that horn day and night over there.
Thank you.
I mean, a little toot once in a while, but not constant.
Right. Thank you. Any additional comments from the public? Comments from the council? Any comments from the council? Not. This will be held over for third. Oh, no, that was actually, let me go back. Tonight is a formal public hearing, so let me say that again. Are there any comments from the public? This is a formal public hearing. Any additional comments from the public? That being said, any comments from the council? All right. Yes, Councilman Paul.
To the question of the tracks that go into GAF, this has nothing to do with those tracks. The amount of money and the crossings we're talking about are solely the South Shore commuter train tracks. Those tracks, I don't know if South Shore Commuter owns them or who actually owns them, or if it's separated by the freight. But there is two separate entities here, the freight and the South Shore Commuter District. And that is an interesting question. Maybe the sponsors can figure that out for us. Thank you.
We'll bring it back next meeting. Any additional comments? This will be held over for third reading. Ms. Nyla, the last ordinance on second reading by title only.
An ordinance on second reading by title only, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, approving the establishment of a separate schedule of rates and charges by the City of Michigan City, Indiana Sanitary District for owners of the property and users located in a portion of the town of Long Beach, Indiana, previously incorporated into the City of Michigan City, Indiana Sanitary District. And this is introduced by Mr. Dabney, Ms. Jigus, and Mr. Don Prespolinski.
And note, this ordinance was tabled on second reading at our June 7th meeting until this meeting tonight. Are there any comments from our sponsors?
Yeah, Madam President,
Yes.
I would like to amend by substitution this particular ordinance. And what I'd like to amend is on the page 2, on the very bottom paragraph. On the amended copy, it says $2 million. On the original copy, I believe it said $1 million. So it's $2 million that they're going to get from the state. And then the interest rate is going to go from 2.3% down to 2%. So those are the two amendments.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to amend by substitution. Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilman Don Privilinski and a second by Councilwoman Jigus to amend by substitution. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
So we're amending it by substitution of what he just read.
Yeah,
The entire
the
printed.
entire printed. Didn't you have a copy? Didn't we all get a copy?
Yeah.
We all got a copy, but I didn't know we were amending it this evening.
Yeah, it's on second reading. Yes.
Right.
So in the amended copy, what Councilman Don Privilinski shared were the main what was germane for the most part, that the interest rate and the amount of dollars.
Right. There were two items that were changed from $1 million to $2 million is the amount we're getting from the state. And from 2.3% to 2% is going to be the interest rate on the $2 million. Now, are we looking, I see council members, do you all have a copy of the amended copy?
We do, but I think what the I know I received it. Did everybody receive a copy? I think those were the main. He just hit the main items that were that whereas clause that specifically impacted the ordinance. There were some language changes. Other and original, and so there were other changes, but the specific change is in reference to the SRF bonds and the amount of money. So I don't know. So that's why it was amended by substitution because of those changes. But the rest of them are language. The rates. So. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Are there? So this. Again, we're on the table. I mean, we're on the amendment by substitution as far as the vote, Ms. Nyla.
Okay, I'm going. Okay, Ms. Tillman?
Aye.
Mr. Dabney?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Mack?
Aye.
Ms. Deitch?
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski?
Aye.
Mr. Simmons?
Aye.
Ms. Jigus?
Aye.
And Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Nay.
We have 8 in favor and 1 opposed.
All right. So now we are on second reading for the amended ordinance, and the title will still be the same. So Ms. Nyla, if you can read the amended ordinance by title only on second reading.
And ordinance on second reading by amended ordinance on second reading by title only, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, approving the establishment of a separate schedule of rates and charges by the City of Michigan City, Indiana Sanitary District for owners of the property and users located in the portion of the town of Long Beach, Indiana, previously incorporated in the City of Michigan City, Indiana Sanitary District, And this is introduced by Mr. Dabney, Ms. Jagus, and Mr. Don Prisbalance.
Are there any comments from the sponsors? Comments from the sponsors? All right, comments from the public. Just please come up, get in line, whatever you would like to do, but you have to come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes. And just for the public's, especially those that are viewing this, we've had a workshop on this already. We've had the first reading. We've tabled it and had a second round of comments. So just understand that, and Mr. Meyer, she raised her hand first, so we're gonna have her speak. But
it's ladies first.
Yes, but what I would like to say to the public is that we've heard several of you multiple times, and I just want to make sure that for any additional information that you'd like to share, please do. We take comments at every reading. So I just want the public to understand that you've heard a lot of these comments, but there's new information. So we allow people to have their voice at every reading. Thank you. So state your name and your address.
My name is Susan Ziak. I live at 2537 Lakeshore Drive in Long Beach. First, I would like to commend Mr. Prisbalinski, Mr. Don Prisbalinski, for his comments about we are all equal and we are God's children. And I firmly believe that. I was a teacher a long, long time ago, and there was no hate in my classroom. I love kids. This sewer project must be canceled because the E. coli bacteria count is a lie by the Long Beach Sewer Council members who should be removed from office, especially Mr. Robert LeMay. Ms. Neary has read statistics about the bacterial count from the lake. Since 2017, the lake has receded. Plus, House Bill 1245 goes into effect on July 1st, 2022. So that those septic systems on the north side of Lakeshore Drive may replace or repair their damaged systems. I am on the hillside with a very well-maintained septic system. It is cleaned and inspected every fall. I refuse to hook up to a sewer with an enormous cost, especially, the $50,000 to $100,000 cost to hook up, which will destroy my $50,000 retaining wall of stone and stairs and cause it to sink into the ground. We are originally told that the north side was mandated to hook up to the sewer, but they changed the rules and infuriated the south side of Lakeshore Drive homeowners, and we do not want any part of the sewer system. If those few people on the north side of the street want it,
30 seconds remaining.
they can stop. They can afford the cost and appropriate and take care of the cost for the people on the south side. The $2 million grant is a drop in the bucket. As for the $13 million cost for the entire budget, do the math. It is unaffordable for the retired homeowners on Lakeshore Drive. I request that retirees Robert LeMay and John Wall hook up to the sewer system first. After they do, I may reconsider doing the same. But they said they can't afford it.
Thank you.
Neither can we.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Inequity.
Thank you.
very sad. I believe everybody's the same, and it should be all at Long Beach.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Mr. Meyer, name and address.
Good evening, Madam President and council members. I just wanted to clarify and add to what Councilman Prisbinski mentioned about the $2 million. It's a forgivable loan. After 5 years, it requires that all people within the area served by the sewer has to connect. The important thing, or one of the important things, the result of that $2 million grant is that the capital charge, which was $248 per month when they first started, is now down to $177.45. And it's mentioned in Schedule A. I send all this out to the clerk on Wednesday, but I don't know if you guys got it all, but Schedule A now has the
we have it.
Number in it.
I will allow any questions for the attorney if there are any. So,
bond counsel is here as well as the financial consultant, if any member of the council has any questions.
Hello. So yes, so I will open up for council comments for this, just for this portion, and then we still will take all public comment, just so that everybody knows that they have a chance to speak if they would like to speak. But yes, do you have any comments, Councilman Paul?
Oh, yeah. Good evening, Mr. Myers. You said that you have with the anticipated $2 million now, that the cost will go down to $143. The
177.45.
177, but the did you also say that there's a 5-year mandate that everybody has to hook up in your statement now?
Yes, what I said was that
what the
condition of the condition of the forgivable loan, the $2 million, is that within 5 years, anybody who's in that area served by that sewer needs to be connected.
Got it.
All right.
So, okay. Jeez.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the council from Mr. Meyer or the bond council? All right. Thank you. Thank you. Any additional comments from the public? Come on up. State your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Brian Gross. I live at 830 West 6th Street. I am a resident of Michigan City, so you all are my representatives. First, to clarify something on E. coli. They typically cite E. coli levels, but E. coli is used as a relative reference to other bacteria that may be in there. And most cases of E. coli rising in Lake Michigan by us are after storms from runoff from Trail Creek. Not from, well, I'm not saying not from septic systems. It may be from septic systems that are flooding into Trail Creek, but it's after storms when you get a lot of fertilizers and other stuff, animal waste, whatever, rushing into Trail Creek and then rushing into the lake. Overall, as I've mentioned before, I think Michigan City needs to get their own house in order first, get all of our people hooked up to sewers and everything before we start hooking up neighbors. The other thing is, I don't think Michigan City should have to do this again and again and again as other towns, whoever they may be, decide they want to hook up this part and then hook up this part a couple years later in this part. I think the city, other cities, if they want to hook up to Michigan City, really need to have a comprehensive plan for their entire city before they come to my city and ask us to take over the burden that they're taking. that they can't share for whatever reason. The other thing is, as I understand it, this is only 12 houses that are affected. For the, only 12 failed sewer systems right now, septic systems are what we're talking about, but almost 400 properties are going to have to pay for it at this point. Later on, it might be the whole town that has to be hooked up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I know you've been standing there. Did you want to speak? Okay. Yes. Thank you.
I'm Bob LeMay, 2201 Oakenwall Drive. I'm president of Long Beach Town Council.
You have 3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
You have 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I'll be good. First off, I want to make it absolutely clear that we initially wanted everybody on the north side of Lakeshore Drive to have to hook up immediately because we felt that's where most of the pollution in the lake is coming from. You all remember the picture of the sewer hanging out over the lake. And while E. coli levels weren't measured, that what's dripping into the lake was full of coliform bacteria.
Dr. LeMay, we can't hear you. Can you talk a little bit more into the microphone?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Did you hear what I said or not?
Yes.
So we know that that's happening. Basically, one of the conditions of this $2 million grant that we're getting from the SRF people downstate is that we are not mandating anyone hook up for 5 years. We can live with that. I think the benefit of a sewer system down Lakeshore Drive certainly makes a lot of sense. While I'd like it to happen immediately, it's not going to. And if we can do this is what we can get, this is what we can get. I think, the benefits of this to Michigan City are huge. And despite what was said at the workshop, and I think you all got the email from the DNR, the literal flow of the lake basically is from east to west, taking our sewage from our beach to your Washington Park beach. So you can argue all you want, but that's what the DNR says. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, comments from the public still.
Thank you for allowing me to address you again tonight. Assume this will be the last time you have to look at me.
Name and address.
Robert Rule, R-O-U-L-E, 2901 Lakeshore Drive. The sewer system that's been proposed by Long Beach Town Council is fraught with lies, deceit, and a failure to be transparent with the citizens of Long Beach. The comment's been made by Mr. Meyer that Long Beach residents elected the town council members. You need to understand that over 50% of the property owners in Long Beach are not Indiana residents and they can't even vote. So that's an incorrect statement from Mr. Meyer. Secondly, Dr. LeMay contends that there's all this pollution going into the lake from Long Beach. I defy him to show proof of that. If the water's tested, as I understand, 3 times a week, and there's no evidence of contamination, I think you have to take his comments with a grain of salt. Statements from one of Haas engineers at the last sanitary board meeting, after he made his presentation, the question was asked of him, if the project was thrown back to the town of Long Beach to reconfigure the entire town and to install the sewers, how long would that take? And he said 3 years. A total of 3 years to redo the whole project and install the sewer system throughout Long Beach. The town council complains and bemoans the fact they've been working on this thing for over 5 years. So you're going to tell me 3 more years is the end of the world? Have they ever demonstrated one point that this is a critical issue, that this is an emergency issue that has to be solved immediately with sewers just on Lakeshore Drive? One other point that came to our attention recently was that contained within the bid from Woodruff & Sons was a significant amount of money for the repaving of all of Lakeshore Drive. And that was going to be passed on to the property owners on Lakeshore Drive only. Does that mean we're the only ones allowed to use the road? Why are we going to end up paying for all of it? And that was buried within the bid. So nobody would know about it. This whole plan is fraught with
30 seconds.
With lies, innuendo, and unsubstantiated claims by members of the town council. I implore you to defeat this or pass it back to the town council to redo the whole community and include all the residents of Long Beach. What's wrong with waiting? Why shouldn't they all be included in this thing? They all benefit from it. I implore you to defeat it or send it back to the town council. It's the only equitable thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Yes, state your name and address.
Annie Malone, 2957 Lakeshore Drive. You guys have heard from me numerous times, like my neighbor Bob. But I just want to talk a little bit about this $2,000 grant. And $2 million, sorry. $2 million grant. And it's my understanding that for the first 5 years, our rates will be low, $177 a month for 35 years. And then after 5 years, if 100% of the 300 homeowners on Lakeshore Drive don't tie in, we've got to pay that back with penalty. So now our rates are not only going to go up, but there will be penalty because they trusted us they trusted our town council to pay that. So that's a change that I hear in the resolution. It's really not a grant. We're going to have to pay it back. You can see we are all opposed. We all want to have a fair deal. We're not saying no to the sewers. We really believe there is a better plan. We've heard from the Haas engineer that yes, and to add on to what Mr. Rule here said is to quote the Haas engineer is, where does he say this? I apologize. That most of the work has been already done. Yes, 3 years. Start to finish, most of the work is already done. So I implore you to really not approve these resolutions and we go back and go back to that original plan that was so lovely to look at from Haas. But it's not a fair deal in this current form. And thank you for listening to us over and over and over again.
Thank you.
Tim Anderson, 2961 Lakeshore Drive. We have to stop meeting like this. Real quick, I think Mr. Paul Przybylski highlighted the fact that we have inconsistencies at every discussion about what the terms and conditions are on this project. Now we have the $2 million SRF forgivable loan, but it has terms and conditions, which my neighbor Annie just discussed. And now apparently the north side is not under any mandate to connect any sooner than 5 years. So I just ask you, when do the changing rules stop? When do we put a stake in the ground? When do we put a cap on the project? When do we rebid it so we have multiple bidders? And when do we stop the nonsense? I would suggest to you that if every homeowner waits 2 years, if this went through, you wouldn't have enough sewer contractors to service 300 homes and connect them all in the remaining time period. So this is just completely ill-conceived around every corner. And please send it back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Hi, Carter Ellens, 2721 Lakeshore Drive. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you again tonight. Yep. At your last meeting, during the public comments, I said there was no emergency that requires you to act tonight.
And I also said, not only was there no emergency, there's no evidence that Lakeshore Drive septics are polluting our lake. Now, 2 weeks later, that is still true. There's still no evidence of a current problem. There's no sign of a trending emerging problem. And there's certainly no evidence of an urgent problem. Everything I expressed 2 weeks ago, I believe to be true today. Now, 2 weeks ago, though, I did say something that I want to take back. I ask you all to please invest time in understanding the core issues. Take the time to separate the fact from the fiction. Hold a public hearing with the experts. And asking you to invest a ton of time, that was really well-intentioned by me because I wanted you to get to the facts so you could make decisions based on the facts. But asking you to invest a ton of time, that was unfair of me to do. I sat through the entire June 7th council meeting. And by the end, I realized me asking you to put all that time into this was unfair. Like any city, Michigan City's got problems. They've also got huge opportunities. And both the problems and the opportunities, that's what needs your time. That's what needs your leadership. At the June 7th meeting, you talked about young men needing adult male role models and a place to get off the streets and play ball at night. You talked about shootings, changing gun laws, creating safe neighborhoods, a safe lakefront, infrastructure gaps in city neighborhoods, and lots of other important topics. And by the conclusion of the meeting, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I asked you all to put your time into our septic conflict. The other topics just feel so much more important for you. So given the seriousness of the other topics, I'm sorry that I asked you that. I'm sorry that you're having to deal with this conflict. So tonight, I just ask you to please reject this. Send it back to Long Beach so we can work to figure out a better plan, a plan that's more universally endorsed. And if that happens, you'll have time. You'll have time to focus on what's important, the issues and the opportunities that your community needs your leadership on. Thank you. Thank you for considering.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the public? Yes. Yes, sir. And if there are any additional after the gentleman on the side, please stand now because I will cut this off in a little bit. So anybody who would like to, okay, thank you. That helps. I'm trying to gauge this.
Come on. My name is Jim Mauer. I'm an engineer with Haas and Associates. I wanted to correct one thing that was said tonight regarding the hiding of the cost for the pavement removal and replacement on Lakeshore Drive. That is not true. In the itemized bid form, that is alternative C. And there are 4 items that comprise the pavement removal and replacement. Pavement removal, street pavement base, street pavement asphalt binder course, and street pavement asphalt surface course. Each with its own unit price and a total figured based on the quantity. So this was not hidden in the bid. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
Yes, it was.
Well, there we go. We're going to pay the total.
Okay, point of order.
Yes, point of order.
We're going
It
to do
was
this.
not hidden. That's what I came up here to prove.
Thank you. A gentleman in the striped blue.
Should I ask a couple of questions from the guy from Haas?
Oh, yeah, I'll bring him back up.
All right.
We'll bring you back up for the council comments so that we can, yes.
Thank you, Madam President and Council. Pat Clifford, 2216, spoke previously in favor of the project. I continue to be in favor. I guess question for
Councilman Don Prespolinski and maybe Jim. Point of clarification, if the project does not move forward at this time, what happens to the SRF $2 million grants? What happens to those?
Yeah, I think what we'll do, because I think the council is going to probably ask those questions.
Okay.
Of the
So then-
attorney.
Yeah, and I guess.
At least I am.
Correct. And then House Bill 1245, just comment, July 2023, I believe, is implementation date, as previously reported 2022. And I think there's a false sense of security with septic repair and replace. You can repair and replace a tank, correct? A septic field that has failed due to the soil, a homeowner must find soil boring tests that support a new location for a new septic field. Not many properties in Long Beach can do that. So you'll have a shiny new tank and you'll join us with Pump and Home. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Stefanos Rizos, 2915 Lakeshore Drive. A key issue we're talking about failed septic systems on the lakeside. A lot of these homes that have failed, we're giving zoning appeals from the board, the BZA, to build their home with their present septic system. And now we're dealing with a zoning issue that occurred from the town's approval. And the rest of the residents have to take financial slack for the town's issues of giving appeals and allowing these homes to be built in their interest. So I don't believe it's fair to penalize those that were in favor of it, which would be the rest of us. We would have never said yes to that. But they allowed it. And now we're guilty and we have to pay. I'm not guilty. I shouldn't have to pay for the town's errors. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take him and then I'll have you come up. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to follow up with Dr. there. My name is Rick Ziak, live at 2537 Lakeshore Drive. I think those dramatic pictures that Dr. Lemay was promoting to you is not because of septic systems failing, but because of a high water level, storm surge, that an inadequate seawalls to protect their septic systems. And that's why they washed out. And certainly a whole septic system falling into the lake would pollute the lake at that time. So again, some of these decisions, like the previous comment made by Dr. here, he is correct that a lot of these things were, they had a rule that you could not build a septic system within 200 feet of a water, and that was changed to 50 feet within water, and so on and so on. So some of these things are self-inflicted, and he's right, he's making the other residents on Lakeshore Drive pay for their problems.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Come on, you can come on up.
I was just saying.
Tim Art, 1703 Lakeshore Drive. Thanks once again for listening to me for my 3 minutes here. I'm just going to point out some of the inequities again that we're all here facing. You know, we got this great Haas-Sender report of the sewer system for our whole town. Maybe the first phase, as that word just came into the conversation recently, the first phase might be Lakeshore Drive. Along with that first phase being Lakeshore Drive, where only 300 people are paying for it, Jim Maurer from Haas said last week that, well, there's an additional 63 homes on the west end that are also going to be tied into Lakeshore Drive. They're not payers, though, at this point. If you look at future substation F, which is right adjacent to where Homoyne Street, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, there's another 49 homes that are going to be tied into the Lakeshore Drive sewer. And then there's several others that'll be added in the future. I know the engineering plan, the total engineering plan then would reroute the west end so that it doesn't have any more additional flow, so the sewer system would be able to handle it. But the point is the inequity. 300 people paying for it, another 63 homes going to be added to it, another 49 homes going to be added to it at some point. We're also paying for the 300 people who live on Lakeshore Drive. We're paying to upgrade your sanitary system at Shoreland Hills, Route 12, and I think wherever Carwick ends up into the Tinker Dam facility or whatever. I might not be using the right terms, and I apologize for that. But we're paying for a lot more than what we're getting here. You know, I live on the hillside just like several of the other people that spoke. We don't need it. We have a septic system that's working fine. My septic is further from the lake than many homes are that are perpendicular to Lakeshore Drive. So it's the inequity, I think, that I'd like to press upon you for a reason to just send it back to the town. The town would love to have sewers. We'd love to be tied to Michigan City sewer system. We'd like you to get all of those fees, okay? Let's use the Haas report. Let's find the money somewhere to do this. That $2 million, as others have said, all you need is one person not connecting, and the $2 million now has to be repaid. And I've got so many neighbors right now that say we're not connecting. We got, you know, we have no intention. And now there's a 5-year thing which is a little more leeway, which we just heard for the first time tonight. You know, the changing story here. My time's up. Okay. All right. Thanks once again.
So after the last two, do we have people online? Just one online after, okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ed Goslin, and I'm here with my wife, Kelly, and we too are on the south side of Lakeshore Drive. And
yes, we need your address.
I'm sorry, 2939 Lakeshore Drive. And I'll be very brief because I think everyone is saying very similar things about the inequities. And what I will say is that I moved here 5 years ago from the Chicago area to get away from this. And taxation without representation and a full understanding and methods of disclosing where your money is going and what it's being used for. This is exactly why I got out of Illinois, frankly. And what I find here is that throughout this process, I've been active in this process. I've kept an eye on this. I've offered assistance to Councilman Coker dating back to 2019, where I suggested the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, which is what municipalities use all the time to offset road costs and the inequities of repairing Lakeshore Drive, which was at the end of its useful life, frankly. And yet the Lakeshore Drive owners were footing the bill for the whole town. And I think what you'll find is it's been a moving target since I can remember that this began, right down to this meeting, where the full understanding of a $2 million grant, which God bless, it's a grant. We should all make sure that we pursue it and we meet the conditions and do it. But the fact that it's coming up again at this late time and only after prodding and only after pushback is exactly what this process has been from the start. There's been a lack of attention and a lack of desire on the part of our town council in order to roll their sleeves up and do what's necessary to find equitable ways to handle this. We have been told that the only people that are allowed to pay by law is people that are connecting. That is not true. That is a requirement of the SRF funds. There is nothing saying that this town can't file a special assessment or a capital charge across the entire town to offset some of these costs. And that has never been discussed. When we were given the final numbers with respect to the bid, we had a public meeting that evening. Those numbers were made available 6 hours to the residents before that May 6th meeting. This past May 6th. It was the first time that we saw $13 million. It was the first time that we understood
30 seconds.
That this capital charge was increasing from the last stated capital charge of $127 to $247, which was an increase from the 2018 letter, which estimated the charges at below $40 a month. This is a far different project with far different ramifications. I have kids in college. I'll have 2 next year. I can't afford this. So thank you very much for your time and your attention. I am glad you're doing your work and rolling your sleeves up. And again, I agree, you have bigger fish to fry than this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg Meyer. My wife Leslie and I live at 2221 Lakeshore Drive. Thank you for your time and consideration. We did not have any intent to hook up to the sewer system. We have a system that works fine. It's behind our house. We're on the south side of Lakeshore Drive. It's inspected every year. We've had a contractor come over to have our sewer connect to the system. We would have to go out the south side of our house, under our driveway, through the retaining wall, down to Lakeshore Drive, which is, I don't know, 50 or 60 feet. So it's a massive investment for us. We bought our home for $800,000. This is a gigantic expense for us. In addition, the monthly expenses are equivalent to about a 40% increase in our property taxes for the next 25 or 30 years. So these costs are completely unreasonable. I looked at sewer costs by city across the US. Seattle has the highest sewer costs per month per house in our country at $135 a month. And the average is about $40. And the low is about $15. So these costs, these expenses are completely unreasonable for the residents of Long Beach. Every forum we've had, the vast majority of people who live in Long Beach, the citizens of Long Beach, are against this project. And rather than listening to the citizens of Long Beach, our officials are just trying to move the project forward. This is not what the majority of residents of Long Beach want. So the cost of this project is unconscionable. And now today, typically we have another thing where we have to hook up. Right? That was not even in our consideration set. Now we've got new money and we have to sign up and we have to spend all the money on infrastructure in our house. Please do not support this project that unnecessarily inflicts financial hardship and no benefits
30 seconds.
to the vast majority of Long Beach residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Who do we have online? True. All right, thank you. Hi, Claudia, if you state your name and your address.
Hi, Claudia Marciniak, 2827 Lakeshore Drive. Thanks again for taking our comments. I really appreciate it. Can you see a trend here from these meetings? The only people that are supporting this project are the few 10 to 12 homeowners that are affected by this that are on Pump and Hall and the town council. The overwhelming feedback is negative. You know, it's representing the people who are affected by this project and who are paying for this. Nobody wants this. There's so much support for a town-wide sewers. So let's do a comprehensive plan and you'll get far more support. Thank you.
Thank you. So as the attorneys and the bond counsel, I know the council, I'm going to open up for comments, but if you can answer a couple of things as you as we begin answering questions. After the 5 years, you know, what happens if someone is not compliant? What happens if this doesn't pass tonight? What happens? It's on second. It's on second.
Good evening. I'm Carl Sender. I'm the financial advisor for this project with Sender Dalton Municipal Advisors. The understanding we have with the state of Indiana, they came up with the $2 million to solve an environmental problem. And they have given us 5 years, or given the residents 5 years on both sides of the roads to connect. If they do not connect, you know, the preset number, which should be close to 100,
then the grant becomes a regular loan, and then the rates will have to be increased.
Thank you. So there's no penalty.
There's no
against the
penalty.
residents.
It would be at a 2% interest rate, just like, so the balance of the loan, or the project is about $10 million, would be financed through a state revolving loan at 2%. And so the 2 million then would convert to a separate loan with a separate amortization at 2% over the remaining years.
All right, I'll open up to the council for any comments. Yes, Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick.
Just a couple of things. Well, first off, I'm not supporting this. I'm not in support of this because I don't think it's our issue unless the town of Long Beach wants to annex into Michigan City. And second, someone made a comment about not being the resident. Only 50% of the owners are residents, and I understand that. I'm like, but you know, a little bit of context. I was born in Chicago. I lived there till I was a young adult. Moved here, became a Hoosier, became a LaPorte County, and became a Michigan Cityan, and here I am to this day. If you don't reside here full time and those aren't your, you didn't vote for the people that are in position, those are still your representatives. And I understand it seems like the appeal to them has been going on deaf ears, and I understand your frustrations in that too, because I think some of us feel like that with our representatives in Washington from time to time. So just wanted to let you know that I understand where you're coming from, and I don't think this is our issue, so I can't get behind it. Thank you.
Additional comments from the council? Yes, Councilman Don Privilinski.
Yeah, so I have a question for Mr. Sender. So, and I believe I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just for clarification. So for the $2 million grant, which if this is approved, the state will give towards the project. But if 100% of the sewers residents are not hooked up within 5 years, then that $2 million then turns into a loan.
That's correct.
Okay. So then the payment on that loan is going to be distributed to the residents along Lakeshore Drive, and their rate will go back to the $250,
correct.
Whatever. Okay. All right. I just want to, because if it's not, if the 100% doesn't hook up, it's not the free money that the grant would have been up front in the 5 years.
That's correct.
Now we got an additional. Right. Okay.
Yep. And the $2 million, it's a significant amount to go towards the project.
Thank you, Carl.
Yes, Councilman Paul Privilinski.
I have some questions for not the sanitary district or the bond council, but I have some questions for, is there still any representatives here from the Dr. LeMay?
Sure.
May I? Yes. Dr. LeMay, are you the president of the town council?
I am.
And how long have you been in that position?
6.5 years.
6.5 years. How long has this project been going on?
We had a comprehensive plan that we finished about 6 years ago, and it was one of the high priorities on that.
Okay. In your discussions with the sanitary district, who was in the main negotiation lead on this project from the sanitary district?
Mr. Meyer was primarily involved.
Primarily?
Yeah, I mean, you have a sanitary board, and they were all involved in the discussions also.
Well, did Mr. Cuss was involved with this at all?
Early on, I think I talked to Mike about it, but that was pretty early on.
Okay. So now the points and questions I'm going to ask, I want the council to please bear with me. Did you change the building code or approve of appeals? Does that go to the board, or do you have a appeals board?
Yeah, that was totally misstated earlier. Basically, our Board of Zoning Appeals or Building Commission, we don't approve septics. They are approved by the county health department. And
okay.
So bottom.
Hey,
I'm sorry,
let me
but
say this before we move forward. The audience has to be respectful of everybody speaking, or we would just shut it down. I don't have a problem doing that.
So early on, the state did say that septics needed to be 200 feet from the lake. Then downstate decided that these new Presby systems would be just fine if they were only 50 feet from the lake. We did not make that decision. In fact, we went down to argue against that, but they basically did it anyway. That's why we have so many septic systems as close to the lake as there are behind seawalls. And, people are saying the lake is low now. We all know, we've all lived here. We know the lake's going back up. And if you think the seawalls are going to protect you, I think you're foolish. Because when it comes to Lake Michigan, seawall it's out of its match. There's just no way. So it's going to happen again.
Dr. LeMay, I don't want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gee whiz, thanks. I'm asking the question, sir.
Absolutely.
I will not debate the integrity of seawalls here. What I want to know, did you change or give any of these owners hardship on getting permits to do any construction of seawalls? Any of the people that are involved now or in the future?
Construction of seawalls?
Yes.
Yes. We allowed people to repair their seawalls.
You allowed them? You didn't give anybody, you didn't change the rules on anyone on this process?
We haven't, we passed a lakeshore protection ordinance that at the same time that allows people to protect their property, also allows protection of the public trust property, namely the beach. That's what happened.
That's what happened?
That's what we did.
So did in that turn with passing that, did that encumber some of the property owners on protecting their property?
Actually, it allowed them to protect their property. We didn't allow them to build onto the public trust property.
Yes or no? Yes or no? We don't have all night. I just want to know, did it happen? Is there a regulation that got more stringent in the process? That's what I want to know.
No, I don't think it became more stringent.
No, you don't think. All right. Well, we're going to find out. We got more time on this issue. Now, did you change any of the building code, or are you a member of the Board of Appeals by being I don't know how the town works, but were you in the process of approving some of these appeals? Did some of these people build too big so they couldn't expand their fields or have an area to make a septic system that would pass?
Well, first off, I'm not on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
But the Board of Zoning Appeals does not deal with septic systems. That's the
not
county.
what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, were they allowed to overbuild on some of these lots? So then encompassing that, it took away usable land to have septic systems that would pass.
Well, if someone decided to build a house that was too big and not give themselves land to put in a new septic if theirs failed, that's possible, but that was the decision of the homeowner, not the decision. If somebody decides to overbuild, we have a regulation in Long Beach that you can only cover 35% of your lot. And one of the reasons for that is we want to preserve the character of the community, or another reason is to give people room for septic systems.
Okay. Now, I think this next question I'm going to ask is a very, I think, for me, it's critical. Were there restrictions put on the construction of this system that it could only be built in the off season, not during the summer?
That decision hasn't been made yet.
That was not let out in the bid process?
We actually had two alternatives, one for building year round, one for not building in the summertime. The difference between those two bids was fairly minimal. I would have expected it would have been bigger, but it wasn't much.
It was minimal?
Yeah, probably like $25,000, which compared to a, $9 to $12 million project is minimal.
Okay. So you're telling me that if it went out, because I'm trying to get a handle on a fix on why there was only one bid that came back.
Yeah, we sent out 9 bids. We only got 2 back. We actually asked one of the people who we thought was going to respond, saying, "Why didn't you bid?" And basically he said, "Well, I can't tell you why I didn't bid, but had I bid, it would have been higher than the bid that you ultimately accepted." But I don't know what the contractors were thinking or not thinking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mack.
I have no questions for you. I've just got a few statements. I'm somewhat frustrated, and not on this lake issue. It's just some of the way that we're being asked to do this. So I believe infrastructure is important, always necessary in a city. I'll just put that out there as far as Michigan City is concerned. Mr. Ellens hit a note with me on his statements because we're being asked to, as council, Michigan City Council, come to our own conclusions primarily through arguments of equity amongst the highest real estate valuations in probably Northwestern Indiana. And that question is being asked here. We in ours twice now. This is the second time. And my statement and my position of frustration stems from what Mr. Ellens said. We've got Michigan City residents in this room right now that have been sitting here politely waiting to speak about. We've got 2 neighborhoods in our city that are, difficult. Eastport, where I grew up, my parents live on Walker Street. That's where I grew up, right in the middle of it. Great neighborhood back in those days. And we've got an aunt lives right down on Holiday, where a lot of stuff had happened in previous years. Politely have been sitting here, not interrupting the meeting, not interjecting from the audience. And we'll see a mass exodus when their topic has come up. So, and I take the onus on myself and us, because if I could have had the foresight, they would have went first. This topic would have went first, but I didn't see it. I apologize to those of you that have done that, but I commend you on your politeness and the manner in which you handled this, because we've got some serious issues in Michigan City, and it's beautiful to see our citizens showing up to hold us accountable. Hopefully, we begin to put the same passion into our issues as you've witnessed here. But my apologies, and as this topic goes forward, we'll do better at managing the process. That's it.
Appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. Any additional comments from the council on this matter? Yes, Mr. Meyer.
Excuse me, President Deutsch. Somebody mentioned earlier about what happened, or is there a deadline in regards to this? And yes, there is. If this project financing is not closed by the end of July, the $2 million grant is gone. Well, the whole SRF loan is gone. We've been advised by the Indiana Finance Authority representatives that there will be no opportunity for grant money later. In addition, their SRF money will not be available until 2020, the fiscal year 2024, because the 2023 money is already spoken for other projects around the state. So if the project doesn't close by the end of July, then you lose the 52 million, you lose the 2%, and you'll of course lose the bid price, which I don't know if anybody thinks that the prices are going to go down for construction, but I don't think so.
Thank you for answering that. Any additional comments from the council? And if not, I will make a statement and then we'll hold this over for third reading. Again, I think I stated this last time that civil discourse is important, and idle threats are not warranted for anything. Everybody, you all are neighbors, and I know this is a topic, and it's a financial topic and matter, but that should never be tolerated. And it's important that you think about that. We just talked about how wonderful event and how people connect, connections to one another. But then you have people that argue, throw darts, make unwelcome comments, or and especially at us too. At us, in some cases, I know I received one. So, and I didn't appreciate it. But again, I just thanked them and said, thank you for your comments. That's what I do. So again, annex Lakeshore Drive in Michigan City, we could take the revenues and get it paid for. Or why not assess the entire town to help the people with pump and haul? You can do that too. So I'm not in support of this, and I would typically not do this as the president from this seat. So that I want to state that I'm about process, so I wouldn't do that, but I think it's important enough because I'm really tired of talking about it, quite frankly. So with that being said, we will hold this over for third reading. And you don't have to come back if you don't want to. Somebody would have to make that motion.
I want to make a motion to have third reading tonight.
Support.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Sean Fitzpatrick for third reading, and a second by Councilman Tillman. And we need 2/3 vote for this to move on to third reading. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Nay.
Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Ms. Davis. Aye. Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Definitely aye.
And Ms. Jones. Aye. We have 8 in favor and 1 opposed.
All right, Ms. Nyla, please read our last ordinance on third reading.
An ordinance on third reading by title only. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Michigan City, Indiana. Sorry, you guys can't hear it again.
The vote was 8. Can you read?
An ordinance on third reading by title only.
Ms. Nyla, before you do that, can you state it was the vote for tabling, for moving the third reading?
I'm sorry,
your mic
because
wasn't
mic
on.
was on. Okay. There was 8 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you.
All right. An ordinance on third reading by title only. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Michigan City, Indiana, approving establishment of a separate schedule of rate charges by the City of Michigan City, Indiana Sanitary District for owners of property and users located in a portion of the town of Long Beach, Indiana, previously incorporated into the City of Michigan City, Indiana Sanitary District. And this was introduced by Mr. Dabney, Ms. Jagus, and Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Any additional comments from the sponsors? Yes, Ms. Jagus.
Yes, I just have a few comments. I think the annexation point is very well taken. I know people were laughing when they said annex into Michigan City, but it seems like this project is way too big for your small town council. And, you know, I don't know, I would think that would be a refreshing thing to think about, is to just annex into the city and then become part of it. Second of all, this project will not be cheaper in the future. I know you think it will, but like construction costs are going up, interest rates are going up, and the rest of the town is going to also have to get sewers, and they're going to be paying a pretty similar amount. It's not going to be all of a sudden, you know, money from somewhere. So anyway, those are 2 points that I wanted to make, but I really think like annexation may be the answer. Thanks.
Yes, Councilman Dabney.
Yeah, anybody that's been watching our council meetings, and a lot of you probably have not, that I've been talking about annexation into Michigan City to receive our sewer and our services for a long time. That's where I sit. I wish you guys would just simply do that, so we can collect the property taxes here in Michigan City. You become a part of the city. Really, you get our police services, fire services, everything. Come on into Michigan City. That's where I stand on this whole thing. And I've been back and forth with the water sanitation and listening to you guys and everything like that. And this has been a tough issue that's been dropped into our laps. But myself personally, you know, I do want to see the sewer done on Lakeshore Drive. So, you know, a lot of people have already expressed that they would vote no, and I would vote in favor, because I know what would happen to monies that we have put up front that would go away, that we would not get in return if this project did not go through. So I see it in the opposite direction. I was a little concerned time after time after time that people say they did not know about this. And then I hear that the statement that only half of the people actually live there. So the information you're telling me was not there, or was it just not received? I don't know. So, you know, everybody can make themselves informed of what's going on in your own town council meetings. That's just surprising to me, that this was done in the dark of night. So I don't know. That's kind of hard. What's that?
No.
Okay, I don't. So you wanted to yell out while I'm talking, and no, I didn't believe that.
Sir, point of order. If we have one more outburst, the meeting's over. I'm going to call this meeting over. We got to have respect for everybody that's here. The council members, I understand it's an emotional issue. It's an emotional issue for these 9 council people that have been dealing with this for a month and a half. So let's all take a deep breath, let the council do their job. And then if you have any other comments, you can send an email, just like the other 100 emails I've gotten in the last month and a half. And I'd be more than happy to respond back to you. Thank you.
And let's not also address the public with questions as well, so that we don't have to have that back and forth. So I'll let you continue.
Actually, I am done.
All right, thank you. Councilman Don Prespolinski.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I've listened to both sides, and this issue was brought to me a month and a half ago, being the liaison of the sanitary district, if I would sponsor it, to bring it up to the council, and I said I would. And that's what I've done. That doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with everything that's going on with this ordinance. By listening to both sides and by listening to the citizens, I don't know how Long Beach operates their town hall meetings or their city council meetings. So I don't know how the information was disseminated. back to the public and to the citizens. And when they first found out about it, apparently they've been working on it for 3 years. And here we sit today. And I haven't seen any evidence yet that there's a dire emergency that this needs to be done right now, except for the fact that if we don't get it approved, that by the end of July, the money will be, the $2 million will be gone. And then they'll have to reapply for it whenever, if this thing was voted down. I just don't think that this is Michigan City's problem. And I know we've had other council members express their opinions about the lack of sewers and sewer repairs in their own neighborhoods that haven't gotten done. We have sewer projects all over town that haven't gotten done. But yet, our sanitary district is going to spend 3 years of negotiating with Long Beach, but we're not getting things done in our own city here. And I don't feel right about that. We should take care of Michigan City first, and then try to deal with our outlying neighbors. And I know some other council members said, you know, we'd love to annex you into Michigan City, but, you know, neither here nor there. I'm not going to support this project, although I think it could be a worthwhile project, but I think the city of Long Beach needs to go back, take another look at it. And like the engineer that was here from Woodruff's, because I was a gentleman that asked that question at the sanitary board meeting that they had here, and they took the vote, how long it would take to go back, go through the city, come up with a project, and start working on it. And they said 3 years. So if that's the end result and how long it would take to get it done, I think that that's time enough to get a project put like that into reality and get it done. Thank you.
Comments from the public?
Hi, I'm Brian Gross, 830 West 6th Street here in Michigan City. Couple of little things. First thing, you know, I've heard some numbers thrown out, 12.5 million to do the project. Let's get a little realistic here. 12.5 million to put in the sewer. If you're looking at 20,000 a house to connect to and possibly 400 properties, that's not 12.5 million. That's 20 million. Well, that's actually the figure you're coming out to, you know, from what I've heard. Something else I'll throw in, you know, some of you have mentioned that a lot of the non-residents aren't represented. That's not unusual. If you happen to own a condo down Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, you cannot even take material out of the library, even though you're a tax-paying property owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the public?
Very brief.
You have to go to the mic though.
Just to clarify, the comment that I made about the majority of over 50% of the residents of Long Beach are non-voters because they're not Indiana residents. What I meant by that was in response to a comment that Mr. Meyer made several meetings ago that you people elected your officials, you got to let them do their job. Well, over 50% of people couldn't even vote, and I'll guarantee you they're not in favor of what this town council is doing. Secondly, Dr. LeMay, made the comment that the town council nor the Board of Zoning Appeals has nothing, they said they have nothing to do with septic systems. I would like to take exception. I sat through 3 meetings several years ago of the Board of Zoning Appeals in Long Beach, and they dealt exclusively with approving variances for septic systems to go in on a lake that didn't comply with the town ordinance. They gave them variances to do that. approved them. They put them too close to the lake. And at one of the meetings, when they were going to approve, I said, have any of you board members gone down to the site of one of them that you're contemplating granting a variance? Not one of them had gone down there to even view the site. And that is one that ended up falling in the lake. So Town of Long Beach has taken responsibility here. They approved variances that never should have approved. They violated the word and the intent of the town ordinance. So I'm taking exception with the comment that Dr. Lemay made.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the public? Any additional comments? Thank you. All right. Any additional comments from the council?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sitting here waiting for water and sewage out of my annexation. My fellow councilman, Sean Fitzpatrick, he's sitting down there waiting for water and sewage in his annexation. I think we're both of the opinion, let's take care of Michigan City first. We're looking at economic development out in these annexations. And I'm wondering, I'm sitting here wondering, how's all this gonna get done? Make a long story short, I was voting no on this work.
Well, you have a time in a moment. I will entertain a motion if there are no more comments. Oh, yes, Councilman Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I will have to say that I agree with a lot of the things that were said about the area that I represent is waiting on a project that was mapped out, not engineered for over 17 years now. They put in a $8 million tunnel to nowhere, and they're still paying on the bond to do that. It's ridiculous. You know what it is? To me, it's bad business practices, and I'm not blaming the people who are on the board right now, but I blame some people that were in the administration that did that. And it's just like, I really can associate with your anxiety. I really, really can. And the way I'm looking at this and taking all this information in, I think that a better plan would be to do the whole town and be cheaper, and it'd be better for everyone, for the city of Michigan City, for you guys. And I know that those 12 people, those 12 individuals are suffering now, but I gotta tell you that I think that you guys have been bamboozled, and at least I have the guts to say it. And I appreciate the comments that have been made by the other council members, is that because we are listening and sorting through this stuff. And I'm not going to shame, I'm really not going to shame the board, but I'm going to shame the town board of Long Beach. And that's where I'm really, I couldn't believe this thing was coming up. This was really, hit us on the side. And I just, for the life of me, I can't believe that and I have to say this publicly, I asked the ex-superintendent time and time again, what are you doing with that Lafayette sewer project? This and that and whatever else. But when he told me 2 weeks before he left that he had capped off all the combined sewers that he knew they figured out that were causing the problem because the water goes to a certain area and then it floods all them homes? Talking about dereliction of duty. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Delia Jigas.
Okay, just have a couple more comments. Everyone on the south side of the Lakeshore Drive were saying my septic is fine, but the fact of the matter is all septics fail. I hope you don't regret your decision to oppose this when all of a sudden it's your septic system that doesn't have the room to move to another place and you will be on pump and haul or your property will be condemned. I did look at a lot of your addresses because when you sending me all those emails, I just looked up on the Beacon Schneider to see where it was. It's like, man, this is like pretty landlocked. You have a septic, good luck if it fails. So I kind of feel bad. And I know it would be best for Michigan City if this project was done because it would be clean water in our lakefront. But, we'll see how this goes. Thanks.
All right. Any additional comments? Yes, Councilman Don Privilinski.
No more comments. Motion to vote.
All right. We have a motion on the table from Councilman Don Privilinski and a second by Councilwoman Tracy Tillman. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Nay.
Mr. Mack,
Nay.
Ms. Deitch,
Nay.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
No.
Mr. Simmons,
Nay.
Ms. Jigas,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Unequivocally, no, nay.
Ms. Tillman,
Nay.
and Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
We have 2 in favor and 7 opposed. It fails.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Nyla. On to new business. We don't have anything in new business. Unfinished business. We're still working through nominations for the social status of African American males. And again, as Councilman Mack stated previously, our apologies. We probably should have just went on and let y'all go first. But thank you for your patience, for being here. I would like for, yes, Ms. Willis and Ms. Pat to come on up to be the first comments since you were here earlier and got to speak. And for public comment, please state your name and your address. And I will give some privilege on people speaking a little bit longer since we've been dealing with this for a while. I think that's the least we can do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wendy Willis, 201 School Street, Michigan City. Patricia Williams, 447 Walker Street, Michigan City. Okay. We're here. I think you have a paper that I gave to Mrs. Gale and everyone has it. Yeah. Okay. We are here and let me just start off by saying our community is facing a serious crisis right now. And that crisis has to do with increased crime, specifically random gunfire, home invasions, increased traffic accidents, you name it, we're experiencing it. And our purpose here this evening isn't to try to solve anything that's going on in the community, but simply to express a sense of urgency, to try to shed some more light on what's going on and try to address some of these issues in our own way. We don't want to try to wait for something to happen. We need to take some action on our own. And this, for us, is a start. We want our voices to be heard. We have some of our neighbors here with us. We did have a few more to give you an idea of some of the things that they are dealing with in the neighborhood that are going on. And let me just say, statistical data is only as good as what is actually reported. So if information isn't being reported or can't be reported or isn't being captured, then of course nobody knows exactly what's going on. So that's the purpose of having some of our neighbors here to express to you exactly what's going on. They want to come up and they want to speak and let you know essentially what life is like, what's going on in our community. And so if, with your indulgence, if we could have a few of them come up and speak.
You all get 3 minutes, so yes. State your address and your name and your address.
My name is Paige Harris. This is my wife, Andrea Harris. We live at 220 K Street, Michigan City in the Eastport area. And like she's mentioned, what we experience from time to time, gunshots, gunfire. I believe within half a block, somebody was murdered behind a abandoned home. About the next block up, they also found somebody that was also murdered in an abandoned home. So it's a lot of issues in that area. One of the issues that I have is an abandoned home that's right across the street from me. The homeowner moved to Chesterton with another family member, and she's pretty much just abandoned the home, partially boarded up, broken windows, high grass. It's getting a lot of attention from young people coming and vandalizing it, squatters. It's just really bringing the property value down. And I would like to know if the city could give some attention, versus it just being just abandoned to sitting there. Because we don't want that type of attention right across the street from us. But there's definitely a lot of issues in the Eastport area with abandoned homes. Used to be a time where the homeowners there took care of the property, but a lot of them have left or moved away, maybe just kept the property and just have left it just there. So we could use some attention from Michigan City to try to improve our area, because there are people there like ourselves who do care about our neighborhoods and our community.
Thank you.
Also, I like to address that in the neighborhood, we have a lot of youngsters that speed through the neighborhood. And, I have a little dog and we have small children in the neighborhood. And these kids, they fly by in their cars and just speeding through the neighborhood. And what else do we want to talk about that? And just a lot of the homes in the area, the grass. I open my blinds up every day. This home is facing right in front of me, and this grass this high. And even on the city side, on the street side on Walker and Case, the grass was this high. We keep our property up. Our home looks very nice. We own a corner lot, but when you have to open your window, and who wants to see anything like that? It's just I don't like to see that. But I hope someone can address that so we can get this taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Or take it after.
Yeah, because I think they're all talking about it. So we probably can do it in your comments. Yes.
Hi,
Sorry. Hi, Martin Bobchick, 215 Vale Street. Yeah, and living in the neighborhood, definitely crime has increased. Random gunfire across the street. There was 3 shots fired within the past couple weeks. And increased speed on the streets has just been awful. I'd like to see a road diet just to address the speeding vehicles and have it addressed uniformly across the city everywhere. Right in front of my street, within 2 blocks, I've seen so many accidents. And it's just it's a safety concern. The derelict properties that are abandoned, they have broken windows that are getting boarded up, and it's not encouraging in the neighborhood. It's a sad sight. There's, I'm so sad to hear that there's murders happening around there, and there's wild animals living in there as well, so health concerns. I've reported 2 different buildings to as abandoned to try and inform the city, but I haven't heard anything about that in response, other than it be addressed at Public Works. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Miss Matt.
My name is Ann Mack at 312 Holiday Street. And basically, I'm talking about the same thing that they were. But I have an addition to mine, is because I'm like there was one room was my daughter. But you look out your window, all you see is boarded up windows, and they've been like that for years. And the grass, the kids just cut that grass yesterday, but it was like this too. And I was just surprised a lawnmower could cut it. But in another situation, we are starting to get more violence on our street. We're having kids fighting. The cops were called. Of course, I did it. But it's getting like we need somebody to watch the streets. The cops patrol it every now and then. And then my alley, I go out my alley, run down to JoJo's or something, get something to eat, a little snack or something. You come back, you can't get through your alley. I have to park from my alley. And I've done that several times. And one man just told me, go around. And then he said it again with more fierceness than that. And I want to tell him I just paid my taxes. You don't even live here, because he was working on somebody else's property. But yet and still, we're still having it. Just this past week, again, it's the same thing. So we're getting tired of that stuff too. We just need a little more patrolling. Let us know that the police station isn't that far away from us, you know. They can come by every now and then. But nevertheless, it's just that our area is getting worse. And since I lost my husband, I want some protection. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mack.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Angela Carter. I live at 320 Springland Avenue in Michigan City. I've been in my home for over 30 years. I know Paige Harris's wife. I have an aunt that just came and spoke. We're a close-knit family. We've been in the community for a long time. I'm afraid now. I had to put cameras on my home. I have so many people coming in and out of my home next door. I tried to call the chief of police, which is Dion, and we got no response from him. I left my phone number. I brought someone with me. They come in and out. Just recently, last year, we had someone that had an overdose at their property at 320. They're renters, and it's all night, all day. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of, they're on my property. I had to put bricks align the property line. They carry guns. You can't say anything to anyone. Last week, well, it's about 3 months ago, there was like a woman that moved in with the people that's supposed to be there, which is supposed to be an older guy and his granddaughter. I found out there was another lady there with 7 children, and they were just running across my grass like it's a park. We spent a lot of money in our yard. And the community is great. I've been here 30 years. Like, I'm the oldest one there. Everybody else is gone. And even if I wanted to sell my property, I couldn't, because they would see there's a boat next door that has cats that live there, rodents coming out. Now I'm getting roaches. I'm getting all kinds of things that's trying to enter into my home. I spent like I said, a lot of money on my home. It's my forever home. And I just need, I've talked to council people. I've even called you, Mr. Dabney. If you remember, it's been a couple years ago. I didn't really get much response from you, okay? Now, you said you came by, but no more. So I talked with Angie. And Angie said, well, Madam President, I'm sorry to call you Angie. And she came by and she saw exactly the thing that was going on in my home. They park on the sidewalk. They park backwards on the sidewalk. They're on the sidewalk today. I have hundreds of pictures that I just have to take pictures of, because I talked to Mr. Lewis, which is Officer Lewis, which was 2 weeks ago, where I was threatened by the lady next door who's now is in jail. And I was afraid to come today because I'm thinking, like the rest of my family, what are you guys going to do for us? You know, what are you going to do? You know, I called the police. They said, continue to call the police, you know, get us a line of things, and then we'll do something. Why do I have to wait? But why do I have to feel threatened every time I go outside? I can't go outside even at night. I got people parking behind my house doing drugs and doing whatever. So, and then Mr. Lewis, Officer Lewis said, I'm going to come by and check it out. Or I'm going to call and make sure that they can have somebody to patrol the area. I'm retired. Okay. And I have put my years in work. I pay my taxes. You'll go look back in my home. I've not missed a day of taxes in 30 years. So I would appreciate if the council, each one of you, take consideration. And if you live even in that area, just come by there. You'll see all the traffic. Like I said, I spent hundreds. I have not one weed in my grass compared to both the land. But I don't care about what they do and how they do it. But I would like a little bit more respect. There's borders, there's lines there to say, hey, don't cross that, not because I don't want you over there, but because we're trying to treat our neighborhood as though it's a community and we love each other. And I have another person that's getting ready to move in. Her name is Cindy, and she's going to be by herself. And now I got 8, 10, 15 people, and I got all kind of random people coming in and out. So I really appreciate, Madam President, and each of you councils to really look at this situation. Because like I said, if one of us die, you know, unwillingly, or just because we walk out or get robbed or anything or hurt, then there's always someone want to come and help them. But please help us now. Could you do that for us?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
There's some people, Mr. Kalavic, did you have anything to say? Okay, Tommy. Mr. Kalavic, acknowledging him first. He was gonna.
Yeah, this is Tommy Kalavic from 1316 Ohio Street. I'm calling on Mayor Dwayne Arthur Perry to step down as a member of the Michigan City Board of Works and Safety. We haven't had one single demolition go in front of the Board of Works ever since he took office and became mayor and appointed himself to that board. I feel he just doesn't have the competency to serve on that. We used to own property over in Eastport. We bought a house for my niece at 301 Tryon Street. She decided to move away. We went and fixed it up. We sold it. It was a house right across the street from 301 Walker Street. Was the residence of Mr. Jerry Peters was murdered back in 2011. You know, I agree. But you know, we need to get some of these demolitions back on the Board of Works and get them taken care of. On a positive note, I want to congratulate all the graduates of 2022, class of 22 from Michigan City High School, Michigan City Marquette. I have a senior now, she's going to be class of 2023. She's National Honor Society student. I want to thank the council for now allowing renters to now apply, and she's not going to be an applicant for the Promise Scholarship. She's going to be a recipient. Okay. So my kids are going to want to start winning that like we win everything else at that school. Okay. It was fun. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Tommy. Yes, Mr. Gross.
Hi, Brian Gross, 830 West 6th Street, Michigan City. A couple of random things. I guess the first thing, I think the Michigan City Council should put all the Michigan City business before business from other towns. Just something that I think would make it easier for Michigan City residents. They can get it done and get out of here before long drawn out stuff. Suggestion. As far as some of the other comments, I know there's vector control that can take care of rodents and, well, there's also animal control, vector control and all that. I'm not sure a lot of people know how to contact them. In the water bills, you get your water bill, and once a year you get your water quality report. Once a year you get your recycling schedule and all that. Once a year, could the mayor's office put an insert in there with all the departments, how you can contact people to get things done? That might help a lot of people out, that they know that there is something called, vector control and who to call to get it done with. And I know, is it Chris Jagelski in the mayor's office? He's probably a very good resource if you know he's there, which I didn't know until a couple of months ago. So I guess the other thing, I think there's an ARP meeting coming up tomorrow night on money. Yeah, so if we can just have details on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Ernie, can you get us?
Thank you. Ernie Hallahan, 302 Gladys Street. I feel for these people in the neighborhood. That's been going on for years. It used to be from Ashland all the way over. Now it's all the way over to Gladys Street where I live. It's houses are getting broke into on my street now too. But I feel for them. They do need to do something for them because that's been going on way too long. But that ordinance that you passed, that's been needed for a long time. My great granddaughter was biracial, and she was at Neiman School, and she would come home every night crying from school because they picked on her. She got it from both sides. They would make fun of her hair. They would make fun of her. And I didn't know what to do for her because she'd come home crying every night. It was sad that kids would do that. Kids can be very mean. And it's very sad the way kids treat other kids. Neither side wanted to be friends with her, and she just was desperate for friendship. And she's 37 years old now, and she has real issues now with depression and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? Is there? Yes.
Yes, Patricia Williams again at 447 Walker Street. As the comments that you heard from a few of my neighbors here, I have a petition. We have a petition drawn up by Mrs. Willis. We have like over 60 people that I've walked around and canvassed the area, and I've heard the same concerns. And it is very important. I just want to extend this to you. It's not just these few people here, but it's all over the neighborhood. So we're going to follow this through, and we need your support. Thank you.
And I encourage you to submit the petition to the clerk's office.
Okay.
So that we can get it on the agenda as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Any additional public comment? Okay, yes, online. Yes, Mrs. Woodard, just state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Woodard. My address is 7401 West US Highway 20. in Michigan City, Indiana. And on one comment, I'd like to piggyback the comment that the gentleman made about putting inserts in the water bill. Most recently, I also used to work for transit, but I had to resign from that position because of inadequate childcare. And so when I began to call around, one of the resources I touched bases with was the city of Michigan City for the summer camp. And my answer that I got was that the enrollment was too low and that you can't have summer camp without kids. And so if these resources are available, then, you know, there's got to be some other way to advertise them so that they can be utilized so that parents won't have to make choices that I had to make. Secondly, all of the infrastructure improvements that are being done with the tracks to the South Shore and all of the businesses and the companies that you guys want to bring here, you want to bring livable wages, benefits, so forth and so on. But where are the children of these for these parents? Where are their children going to go? That has yet to be addressed. And so while you want to improve the present city, you have to invest in the future of the city. And that will be the children. And I have yet, I see there's, a couple of different, organizations where children are involved, but more so on the primary level. We have to start with the early education, secondary, preschool. Have to think about them. And thirdly, this water annexation thing. I know that at some point my address is going to come down the pipeline, and we may or may not be forced, to make some modifications to the property, but that would be an astronomical expense based on where we live. And we're kind of out in no man's land where nobody really pays attention to us. So I just like a heads up. Be realistic and proactive when going forward with the annexation in terms of bringing services to the outlying areas. Be more proactive, because there's not many people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars just sitting around because the city decided to annex your property and gave you, not enough notice. Those would be my three concerns at this point. Just a heads up, you guys will be hearing from me quite often because I have lots of free time now. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Woodard.
You're welcome.
Any other online? No more. All right. I'll open it up. Any additional comments from the public? All right. I'll open up for comments from the council, and I have Councilman Bryant Dabney.
Listening to the concerns of the people talking about the Eastport neighborhood. I live in the Eastport neighborhood as well, over there on the corner of Thomas and Ridgeland. So the gunshots that you hear, the gunshots that I hear as well. We talked about arranging something where we can get you guys in front of Dion Campbell and the police department to talk about some of the things that he's working on, and just got that today. So if you guys want to write this down, Tuesday night, 6:00, down in the community room at the police station. That's next Tuesday, 6:00, down in the community room. Chief Campbell will be in there to talk about the concerns and to talk about some of the things he's planning. There's meetings that we have coming up later this week about some of the things that I talked about to some of you guys on the telephone. Different systems in that I was mentioning. I won't mention them out loud now because we haven't gotten approval with the chief about moving forward and everything like that. I did come through and talk to you about some of those issues, and that went to the code enforcement as well as police. So back then, during that time, that is what was done. Those police officers were notified of what was going on, and they were going to do additional ride-throughs, and then anybody that would have high grass and things like that, code enforcement would be taking care of that. So that was not left unattended to. And I understand these issues. Like I said, I live in the Eastport neighborhood all the same. And we are doing some things here that we're trying to get, especially safety. I think safety is going to be our biggest issue right now in terms of what's happening. I see the same issues that you do. I hear the same gunshots that you hear. So once again, Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, the members that came out to talk about some of these issues, I hope you come down and talk about some of those issues as well. And since we brought up some things about the high grass and other things like that, I'll try to get someone down there from code enforcement as well that can address some of those issues, because the police is just going to talk about safety. And then maybe after we can finish that, I'll have someone from our code enforcement down there as well. There have been street department coming through there, cutting down lots of trees and weeds and things like that, where you can't see stop signs along the streets over in that neighborhood. So there's been a lot actually going on in there. It doesn't seem like there is a lot going on because these incidents are increasing. So I'm well aware of it, and we are working on that. And like I said, you want to hear some of the different issues or some of the programs that the chief is working on with some council members at this point. We would love to have you come down once again. I'm talking about 6 o'clock next Tuesday night. And just like I said, I would arrange for that meeting. That was the time that I was able to get with him. Yes.
Is there a way that you could communicate us on a
Yes, the microphone.
I was going to repeat the question if she didn't make it to the microphone.
Yes.
Is there a way that you could communicate to us? I realize you're busy.
No, you're fine.
Is there a way that you could communicate to us what it is you are working on? Because we just don't know. If you are working on something that is, helping us and that's helping us to help you, obviously we don't want to, duplicate any kind of effort.
Right.
We're going to continue to do what we're going to do, but we want your help, and we want to help you as well.
Yeah.
So if you are doing something and working on something, if you could let us know what it is. And like, you just told us about this meeting that's coming up. I know that we had discussed on the phone what you were trying to do, and you were going to get a meeting with the police chief,
right?
And which was great. But if we could just be kept in the loop, and then I could make sure that other people who are concerned, okay, this is what we're working on. We understand it's a process.
Right.
We understand that, things are going to happen overnight. But we would love to be able to, stay in the loop and stay informed about what it is that you're doing and what is going on.
And I will address that. We did used to have that communication going back and forth when I was the president of the Eastport Neighborhood Association,
right, yes.
Neighborhood Improvement Group, so to speak. I gave that up due to the fact that I was extremely busy, and we haven't had a meeting now in 6-8 months.
Right.
I did not have control over the email. I just got control of the email. I'm going to be the president of Eastport Neighborhood Association again. So all of you guys' email was in there. I don't know if Paige, if your email are in that, the Eastport Neighborhood Association, but I am going to be taking that back over, and those emails will start again here shortly, because I was actually going to send one out to you guys and a couple of other neighborhood groups in regards to this meeting that everybody's been requesting with the chief of police on Tuesday. So Paige, if you want to come up and get your email, add you into that group as well. That's about 56 people or so in that Eastport neighborhood group. And you've seen those emails before, and they're going to start up back again, because I'm going to take back over as president of the
That'd be great.
Eastport Neighborhood Association.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Councilman Dabney, are you? Oh, you still done? Okay. I just want to make sure, because I don't know if he has something else. Councilman Gene Simmons.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Benson, President of the Board of Works. Are you guys addressing abandoned homes in the city?
Michael Vinson. I'm Vice President of Board of Works. But I haven't seen anything of abandoned homes come through. The only thing that I've heard so far is Mr. Kalavik's comments at these meetings. But as far as somebody bringing an address or attempting for abandoned homes, nothing.
Okay, we should be addressing those. Someone in the city should be addressing all these abandoned homes. I mean,
Code enforcement and the building commission used to.
there should be a whole list of abandoned homes coming before the Board of Works. And
we had a meeting, a little after meeting discussion with code enforcement. There's been a mass exodus of code enforcement officers. So they're saying they don't have the manpower or the ability to go around and do that. Not an excuse for me. Heard a few comments tonight, especially these folks here. I think all of us as city officials, we were elected or appointed in. I don't think people should have to feel the need to come to a meeting like this for their concerns to be moved forward. If they meet with any one of you or myself, I move it forward. They don't know where to go in this city. We do. We have the advantage of knowing where to go and who to talk to. Don't ignore the public. Bring their concerns to light. You move it forward. Mr. Simmons, you brought a couple to the last Board of Works meeting. I mean, they didn't know where to go. You directed them. I would challenge all of us to direct that. If there's homes that need to be tore down or high grass, let's bring that to someone's attention. And if you do, follow up. Let them know. Let them know you need to bring that to the Board of Works or whoever else, the police department. And laugh, but we are not doing that, right? Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman Tillman.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to acknowledge on June 19th, happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers that are present and who are viewing and watching tonight. And also for Fly High Youth, with CEO and proprietor of Mr. Kenny Fly of his organization, doing his third annual Father's Day 3-on-3 basketball at the Michigan City Water Tower this past Sunday. He had a tremendous turnout, and I look forward to seeing what he's going to bring forth for next year. Thirdly, my other thing is the passing of the LGBT resolution tonight. I just have only one request, and that is moving forward, I ask the administration, June 20th of 2021, a resolution, an ordinance amending the holiday pay for Juneteenth, which is June 19th, that day stay as an observance day for June 19th and for no other to be commingled into that day.
Yes, Councilman Mack.
Just real quick, want to thank those of you who came out for these conversations on the Eastport neighborhood. I know a lot of you, family, really. And like I said, I grew up on Walker Street. My parents stay there now. So I'm knee deep in knowing exactly what's going on in our neighborhoods. And it's a big issue, and it's bigger than, any of us individually. This is what it's going to take, and it's going to take duplication of effort. And a sense of where we're going. I listened to a podcast on the way to work yesterday, and it was somebody from like the Bronx, New York, I think it was, and she was talking about how they devalued their own community. You couldn't get your own kids to take your house, and it wasn't a negative like the place was really run down. It's just the ability the forest for the trees type of stuff. You can't see your own value in your own community, but somebody else will look across the street and, you know, from another town, like, oh yeah, I'll take that. And so how you get from A to B, complicated. She was taking, but it worked for them in the neighborhood of somewhere in Brooklyn. They built a cafe and internet, Wi-Fi, and hip, cool things that gives the youth a bit of a competition for the quality of youth. You know, they can go over here instead of just hanging out at somebody's backyard all the time. There's competitions for youth attention. And then some of the things are like market-based solutions, growth. Somebody on Ms. Woodard was talking about how things are growing. You don't have a whole lot of control over that. There's police-based solutions. We've went down that road. It's very, very difficult to solve these problems with the police only. And then there's regulatory type solutions. And that's where I really think our opportunity lies with rental regulations. If you can't be a high caliber landlord, maybe somebody's got to have a conversation with you. And some of the Airbnb regulations and the zoning and code enforcement, and have a vision of, you know, moving forward, a collective vision. And it does come from the administration. So thank you all for coming out. Very much thank you for those of you that stayed. I really appreciate that. I'm sure those things that make a difference. That's what makes community work, when collective groups of people come together and try to solve very, very difficult problems. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Paul Privilinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to thank the Eastport Neighborhood Association for your comments, because I think that what you brought here, it's not only going on in your neighborhood, it's a problem in our whole city. And I think that we need to, I'm tired of the excuses myself. I'm tired of hearing that we don't have enough people. I'm tired of this. And that one thing is that I understand that the only way you move forward, just like moving that ball down the field, it takes a team effort. And that team effort, we're part of the team, but you have somebody who controls, like, you know, the general manager controls who's playing and who's not playing, and who you're going to buy and who you're going to get rid of or send down. Many years ago, I brought up the idea when I was on the council before, that they come up with a workbook that has the code in it, that when somebody is called to a problem, a police officer, that he knows the code and he can write the code right on the ticket. Very simple concept, because we can't all be everywhere or do all things, because things happen after hours. And that team concept is, I think, what needs to be done, and develop this workbook through the planning department. I brought that idea up with John Pugh many years ago, and it never got acted on. But after hearing this and hearing all the differentials, you know, as I looked at your newsletter or report, you know, I want to know specifically what's going on here about, we gave the tools. We gave a good package to hire police officers. I don't know what, yes, exactly. So I'm just saying, for my frustration is that I think that if we have a problem with the houses, that we should move in a direction that we recapture them houses and put them to good use. Maybe putting police officers in them under a grant program or something. You know, we have to think outside the box to accomplish our goals for the quality of life for all the neighborhoods. And that's, I will tell you this. I live by St. Anthony's Hospital. the old St. Anthony's. There was an individual, somebody was murdered in the 100 block of Homer Street. You know how far that is away from my home? About 400 feet. And I never got any information on it. But, you know, let's just move on. The shots, the murder at Marquette, well, that's not that far from my house. And I think that, you know, there's things we have discussed and we're going to be moving forward on. We had a meeting and I think the council president's going to expound on that. But I want to thank all the residents of Long Beach that came out here and gave us the information, gave us the feedback to understand what was going on this project. And I will say this, is that personally, I think that if you all work together, that you'll actually benefit the whole town and your property values will go up. They will go up across the board because nobody will have to worry about a septic system problem in the town. And that's where I think the direction that you should move to. And I will say this, then you need to vote out the people that were giving you misdirection. That's all. That's part of the process. And I don't have a problem saying that. I really don't, because I think that our council that I've been associated with, we try to, we take input, we listen to the facts. Some people, you know, you get him passionate about a certain thing. And of course you're gonna, you know, really have a heck of a discussion about it. But the true equity in this is to bring that whole community together and benefit the whole community. Just don't let it lie. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dahlia Jiggers.
Yes, I'd like to let people know that they're going to be in an urgent community health forum this Saturday. It's about protecting Lake Michigan and Trail Creek, and it deals with the coal ash pollution, especially, you know, in the area right by NIPSCO over there. So there's going to be an urgent discussion of the impacts of coal ash pollution on our health and how we can come together for environmental justice. So it's Saturday, June 24th at 4 p.m. It's at the Hope Community Center, which is at 222 McClelland Avenue. It's a free event. Food is provided. We'd like them to register for it in advance because they would like to know how much food to prepare. This is sponsored by the NAACP, the Northwest Indiana Ministers Conference, and Just Transition of Northwest Indiana. I do have this flyer up on my website on the front page. So if you want to take a look and see how to click on Eventbrite to sign up, it's a free event. Find out what's going on with the coal ash. We'll give you all the information that we know. Thanks.
Yes. Councilman Dodd.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. And to the Eastport folks, I'm glad that you came tonight and spoke your issues. And I know that Gail has sent emails on to me with folks' phone numbers and names. And I know I've called one woman in particular and talked to her about her, saying that I'd be more than willing to get involved with the Eastport neighborhood. My phone number is 879-5260. And if you have any issues, you can call me, you know, from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and I will set up a time to come over and see what's going on in your neighborhood and get involved in trying to make it better. You know, I try to help all the council members as much as I can throughout the city. And that's what a councilman at large does, is try to help everybody. So if you want my assistance and try to get the right people involved to correct some of the issues in your neighborhood, feel free to call me. Because I live on Gardena Street. I can be over to your house in a matter of about 3 minutes. I'll be there in 3 minutes. Not 2, but I'll be there in 3. But anyway.
Don't speed.
I never speed. I'm one of the slowest drivers in Michigan City. Ask my wife. She tells me that all the time. But anyway, I'm more than willing to help get involved with your neighborhood to make your neighborhoods as good as they should be. You pay taxes. You deserve the best, just like everybody else. The other thing I want to thank the Michigan City Main Street Association. This year they have backed out of doing the Taste of Michigan City and doing some other activities that they've done in the past. But they have decided that they are going to take a different direction. But I just want to thank them for all the hard work and efforts they've done. They're a volunteer group. They don't get paid anything. And they are one of the driving forces in the downtown area to bring life to it, to make it enjoyable, to go down the Taste of Michigan City, the shelf ice. There's other activities that they do, and they do it all because they love Michigan City. But now they've decided to go in a different direction for different reasons that I won't get into at this time. But I want to thank them personally. Then there's also a big issue that I believe is in Michigan City, been brought to my attention by some people that live in the or work in the not the police area, but in the fire services, as far as overdoses that are taking place in Michigan City. And I was made aware of that over the Memorial Day weekend, that there were 7 overdoses, and there was one fatality. What I would like to start getting, and what I'd like the city council to start getting, is a bi-weekly report, not bi-weekly, but bi-monthly report in just an email on the amount of overdoses that have taken place in the community, just so that we're aware of the issue that's really out there. Because I think it is an issue when you have 6 overdoses in one weekend in a city of 30,000 people. I think that's an issue. And I think that the city council deserves to be made aware of that. And one comment that I want to make, and it deals with, and we talked about it at the last council meeting, that deals with the city engineer. We all know the issues that had came about with the city engineer. But what our concern was, I believe at the last council meeting, was to work on the streets, blacktopping, nothing, sidewalks, nothing. So what I did is, and I'll read it right here because I wanted to make sure I had everything verbatim, is that I commented on the appropriation of $50,000 that Councilwoman Zygas pulled her sponsorship to for Mr. Haas pulling his work from the city. And what I wanted was asking the administration, which I meant the mayor, to give the council a report at our next council meeting on June 21st, which is tonight, the status of either a new engineer or another engineering firm that's going to do the work for the city of Michigan City, so that we can get contracts moving along in the status from the city, from the mayor, on the repairs of sidewalks and blacktopping of any streets that are going to take place in Michigan City. And unfortunately, the mayor never showed up. And this took place 2 weeks ago at our last meeting. And I have not received any feedback from the mayor as far as what his plans are with the city engineer. And without a city engineer, I think it's hard to get sidewalks done and blacktopping done. So what are we going to say? We're not doing any blacktopping and sidewalks? Last year, I handed in a list on Gardena Street and possibly some of Superior Street of sidewalks that needed to be fixed. And I had, I don't know, 50, 60 addresses on there. And that was supposed to be done this year, but now no engineer, so nothing gets done. So everything gets pushed back another year. So all I want is an answer from the mayor with that everybody in this room voted for. What is going on with our sidewalks? What's going on with our streets in Michigan City? Thank you.
All right, Councilman Fitzpatrick, the only one that hasn't, you got anything to say? I hate to put you on the spot like that, but.
I always have something to say. I just try to keep a minimum because it's late past my bedtime. But one thing I do want to thank everybody for coming out, because this is what makes this work when we all participate. I was listening to some of the comments made about the homicides and stuff that happened. If anybody don't know, I'm a deputy coroner and also autopsy assistant. So a couple of those cases that were mentioned, I know them personally because I actually had to respond to those scenes. So I know wholeheartedly the issues that we're having over, around the Holiday Street area, around Vale Street, and the overdose deaths that we deal with. If anybody want to sit around and listen to the scanner with me for a day, you'd be alarmed at the amount of calls for potential overdose just that goes on throughout the day without it being a holiday or any special thing. So, it's all part of, being a community. We all have to look out for each other. Mental health is something that definitely is being overlooked, and people are acting out and trying to self-medicate because there are so many other pieces and boxes that aren't checked that makes people complete. So, it's like when you know about things and you know about people that are going through stuff, we all have to try to help them and try to do what we can to get the problem solved. Because I can tell you right now, with us up here, we're not going to be able to solve all the issues. Talking to the police chief, they're not going to be able to solve all issues. The president of the United States is not going to be able to do it all, but we have to be the ones that start. If it's a child in crisis, bring them in. Just if you can have a conversation with them, maybe that may make all the difference and stop them from being the ones that are out doing a shooting or, thinking about doing drugs or going to hang out with somebody that may not be the best influence for them. So, we all have kids, we all have family, extended family, nieces and nephews, and it's something that it doesn't discriminate, because I've been on homicide deaths. I've been on overdoses deaths from all the way from Long Beach, and, because I work for the county, and all the way to my side of town on the Fourth Ward. So it's a citywide issue, and we all have to work together with it. I didn't want to talk that much, but since I got put on the spot.
All right. Well, yeah. So we don't have enough. So let me close with a few things. So yes, thank you all for coming out this evening and making your voices heard about what's going on. So first, I want to bring up Mr. Burl Bergwall. Many of you know Mr. Bergwall. He passed away here recently. I've grown to know him for just having great conversations with him. I worked at, I taught some classes at PNC at the time, and he was there at night as well. But, he's a former council member, former school board member, I don't know, on a couple of commissions, boards, but everybody has seen Mr. Bergwall walk in, going to get groceries, whatever it is. But he did pass away here recently. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Also, just a shout out to PFLAG and to Fly High for the events this weekend. They did a wonderful job of bringing the community together. Just people having a good time, fellowshipping over food, entertainment, and that's something we should have every weekend. not just collectively, And again, I want to acknowledge some folks from PFLAG because they reached out immediately and said, hey, I saw the event on Sunday for Juneteenth. How can we help next year? And I thought that was just great for them to reach out and ask how they could support the Juneteenth celebration to make it bigger. So that was heartwarming. Couple of other things. We do have several workshops for input, but to also provide some input. The council did have a workshop. Was that last? Yeah, it was last week, just to talk a little bit about process, because we do have a ARPA committee with the mayor's office, but just to talk about how do we move forward and getting an application process together for funding into the community and whatever that might be. I know that Unity Foundation will be here on 2 of the meetings to talk a little bit about process. They also, I need to have someone from our committee to, they're also talking about their system for applications, but we haven't had any public input meetings since last year. So tomorrow is focused on public health and safety. When I say public health and safety, that's mental health too. That's our well-being as well as fire, police, and all of that. It's here in the council chambers tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And that is to receive input. Councilman Damney has been talking about the ring and some other things. I had a Zoom meeting with a ring success manager 2 weeks ago. And, so there's opportunities, there are cities, and there's pros and cons to anything and everything. We had conversations years ago on cameras, and there was a upswell, against that, but maybe now's the time to have those conversations again. And hopefully Chief Campbell has a package together to talk about, neighborhoods that are the high crime areas, and how do we build up, neighborhood groups in all of the city and provide funding to those organizations to support programming in those areas. So tomorrow is public health and safety. On Monday at 11:30, June 27th, it's about workforce development and small business. Receiving input from those small businesses and people who work on workforce development. I know I'm hoping, I know I have a meeting with the Carpenters Union and the Indiana Plan on Monday, and hopefully they can come to that meeting and get some of the unions out here. June 29th, 5:30 p.m., that's focused primarily on neighborhoods and nonprofits and our parks, because our parks are underutilized. But when you have an event at a park and you have to go clean it up before you have your event, that's not a good look for Michigan City. That you have to go clean up the park before you can even have your event. So we really need to think about how we utilize that. But the good thing about creating a process through ARPA is going to go away, and we'll have a process that we can use for Riverboat, for whatever else we want to use funding for, versus us using it for operating the city singularly. So I think those were my main things. And then again, tomorrow it's hybrid. So it's Zoom, or if you can't make it, send something to your council people and they can, forward that on to everybody else. But again, we appreciate your time and your concerns that you have shared. And until the next meeting, I would call for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
So move. Thank you.